Yay! Time for Type 40 Live materializing again here for you with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your view screen in real time too on YouTube, Rumble, and on Facebook, always in front of a live chat full of friends, fans, and companions just like you. They assure me, everyone, that spring is coming. Surely it must be any day now. Whilst we await the lighter nights and greener grass, at least we've still got one another to help us through the lean times where there's no real Doctor Who news. Or is there? This is Type 40 Live. Of course there's Doctor Who news. Of course there's Doctor Who talk. There's banter. There's nostalgia. There's fan art. There's all manner of other things coming up with us on the next however long we're here live streaming to you for now. Don't forget, if you're over there on Facebook in the Type 40 Facebook group, you got to hit the little blue link. Then Facebook tells StreamYard exactly who you are. Scary, isn't it? Yeah, I know. StreamYard tells us, and we all get on first name terms, as always, to huddle round and talk about Doctor Who. Whether it's the old original era of the diamond logo and the bloke with a floppy hat and the long scarf and all that, whether it's all that or all this in the 21st century as we creep our way through to the first full season of all new Doctor Who, led by this fella. Yes, the weeks are closing in. It'll be here before you know it. Oh dear, I can't wait. Is that convincing? Let us know what you think of all that in the comments, as always, whilst we get cozy. Can you get cozy in this new TARDIS? The jury is still out, but I am still kind of fascinated on all the little details, all the levers and whatever else, seeing what I can see there. Now, I wonder if somebody with younger, sharper eyes may have spotted a few things, like maybe there is is there a whoopee cushion built into any of those seats? What do you think, Jack? Can you see from there in the nerd den?
Well, I mean, if there is a whoopee cushion, I'll be sure to be the first one to make the noise because it might brighten up the place a little bit.
That'd be good, wouldn't it? Or maybe an ejector seat. Do you think that's what that seat is in the TARDIS? That one single seat?
Blimey, with that ejector seat, I mean, you'd still be going quite the way up before you smash through the ceiling, no doubt, because of how spacious that bloody thing is.
Reminds me of the one. You've ever seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and all that, where they've got the great glass elevator and it just goes on and on? It reminds me of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's so. I mean, it hasn't grown on me yet, I admit, but it's very spacious. It is quite literally bigger on the inside.
Well, that's why I thought we'd focus on those finer details this time, Jack, because it can all get a little bit overwhelming. But a few little glyphs and dials here and there, the analogness of it all is what I'm sort of clinging on to. I'm thrilled to see you've made it back. I know you've been on your travels again this week. We're going to hear all about that later, and I can't wait to hear your latest report from out there in the wilds, in the fields of Doctor Who fandom. You're just in a T-shirt. Is it warmer where you are, or have you just got better heating than I have?
Well, I mean, it's quite warm here. I mean, I've literally just popped outside to put the washing on, and it's freezing. So I think I'm just lucky to have heating, I think.
Good stuff. Let's warm ourselves up with the glow of other human company, shall we? I'm thinking specifically of the woolen clad starry-eyed girl, Sarah Gray. Hello.
Yeah, unlike Jack, I'm freezing, and this TARDIS is doing nothing to warm me up. It's far too drafty, far too big. But I do agree, Dan. I do like the analog dials and everything, but yeah, it's just too big. Just the dimensions are all wrong. It's going to take a long time for me to get used to it.
And what about this? I mean, we are getting slowly, the nights are getting lighter, aren't they? But it's nowhere near good enough, is it, Sarah?
No. It's bloody freezing. We're Brits today, aren't we? We're just going to moan about the weather.
Yeah, I think we need an American, don't we, to cheer us up a little bit, to shake us out of our typical Britishness and get us talking about something other than the weather. I think I have just the man, even if he is a little bit retro, but he is a doc. I've never asked him, actually, if I can see the certificate of his authenticity to claim doc status. It's probably just for the best when I bring in Gary Akers, isn't it?
You'll just have to take my word that I got my degree from the correspondence school.
Yeah, just don't listen if he asks you to go behind the curtain and strip to the waist. Hello, Gary.
And it may look sunny now, even though I'm in California. But if we would have had this stream yesterday, we'd have been in the middle of a rainstorm, so I would have fit right in.
Good stuff. Happy to have you back, mate.
Thank you.
First
I'm
one,
beyond
first
honored
one
to
this
be
year.
here on Thursday.
Yeah, we had you on the round table, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? Where we
Yeah,
got together and we chewed the fat, didn't we? That was a good giggle, wasn't it? Got a few things to get into this time. I think we've teased some morsels out of the vortex, even though it is very still waters at the moment, isn't it, Gary? Is it the calm before the storm? What do you think?
I think we need to appreciate the lack of chaos right now, because we'll have plenty of it in a couple of months.
Well, you say that, but I'm about to bring in Charlotte Shields. I think this is where we can.
I'm waiting for the rest of that little segue, Dan.
I was going to call you the ever chaotic, but I think that would be a tough sell, wouldn't it? Hello.
Hello.
You, good to see you.
I was going to say,
yes.
In my family right now, it's wedding prep. So there is quite a bit of chaos with my sister.
Very exciting.
With stuff getting delivered, stuff not being the right size, all that fun jazz. So it's a bit chaotic in my house at the moment.
Working through a list there. Fabulous stuff. How long until the wedding itself? How many more months of chaos have you got?
About 3 weeks. About 3 or 4 weeks. So it's proper like on the horizon.
Ooh.
Is that all? Is that all?
So I'm going to be a bridesmaid.
Do you have anybody riding in on horseback or any of those rom-com things going on?
I don't think it'll be a rom-com knowing with my family. So we'll see.
We shall see. We shall see. Riding to the rescue now to complete our panel on this Type 40 Live. I'm happy to say that he is returned. Sir Simon of Horton. Back again, everybody.
Greetings all.
Hello.
Hello.
Listen, I've got to say it's absolute chaos in my house at the moment because for the second time in 18 months, I've had a bus crash through my fence into my back garden. You couldn't make this up. It's no word of a lie. I'm not kidding you here at all. So there's a massive hole in. So everybody can just walk straight into my back garden. If anybody wants to come and have a wander around my back garden, now is the time to do it because it's open to all.
Somebody clip that quickly.
Yeah.
And it's always buzzes, isn't it? It's never a coach. It's never.
I know.
An ice cream van would be good. Well, another time of the year.
Yeah, no to bus every time. What can you do? I'm getting a bit bored now, but there we go. So poor little Lenny has to go out on a lead now. He can't even be allowed out on his own.
What's going to do? Because he's got a road right next to him.
Yeah, road right next to him, so he has to go out on a lead. You couldn't make it up, could you? Heretic OSJC, fine. You bring the beer round, mate. You're on. Bring the beer round.
Bring the beer round. Just think in a few weeks' time, we'll all be complaining about how hot it is, won't we? And we'll be hankering.
A bit of luck.
Dan, I actually think maybe I'm wondering whether Simon was actually restaging that scene from Delta and the Bannermen where the bus just kind of came down out of the sky.
Now, why didn't I think of that, Carrie? What a brilliant idea. Missed one there, didn't I?
Just to give Dan a bit of a present, that wouldn't it?
That's right.
The standout classic, Delta and the Bannermen, of course. Yes, so one of the things I like about Delta and the Bannermen is the fact that it's so alive with music, everybody. We get to see the Doctor and Mel and all the people off the bus, the Navarinos, don't we? We get to see them enjoying themselves at, it's not Disney World, is it? In the end, it's a Butlins-style holiday camp somewhere in Wales. I love all that because we get to see the Doctor sort of doing the twist with Ray and all that kind of thing. I always love that. And people talk, don't they, about the episode from 2005, Sarah, the Doctor dances. Moffat made a big deal about that, didn't he, about showing us the Doctor dance on screen for supposedly the first time, but he was doing it in Delta and the Bannermen. What other episodes does the Doctor danced in? Can anybody think?
Oh, the Big Bang.
Yeah,
at Amy's wedding, he danced there.
Does he dance in Black Orchid? I don't think he does a dance in Black Orchid, does he? He never gets involved in the dancing in Black Orchid.
He shuffles down a flight of stairs looking somewhat shifty, doesn't he, Gary?
Not quite the same.
That's not quite that, is it?
In End of the World, where he's doing the whole thing like that, does that count as a dance?
Oh, the head bob. I
Head bob?
count that. I count that as a dad. I think that definitely counts.
It's implied in The Girl in the Fireplace that the Doctor danced with Madame de Pompadour, but knowing Stephen Moffat, I think it was a different definition of dancing, I think.
Yeah,
It was
It's a metaphor for dancing.
yes.
horizontal poker. Yes.
Stop it!
So when yes, but the reason why I asked you about this is because yes, Stephen Moffat used this as a euphemism, didn't he? He's not the most subtle of writers, although I am somewhat of a fan of Stephen Moffat's. And although we got to see the Doctor's moves then, this week we've got to see Stephen Moffat's moves. So I don't know if you've seen anything of this because it's been over on social media. Now a lot of the big names in Doctor Who, they tend to hide their light under a bushel, don't they? When it comes to dancing and singing and all that kind of thing, they keep it on the down low. I think having seen this, it's pretty obvious why. It went up on TikTok and on Instagram, and I think it was originally shot by either Karen Gillan or somebody else like that. But it is Stephen Moffat busting moves at an undisclosed party somewhere. Check it out, everybody.
Look who I'm here with. And also...
That is real dad dancing, isn't
That
it?
is proper. I know he's going for it now.
It's going.
That was contagious.
Right, yeah. Don't give up the day job, Stephen.
I was waiting for the Macarena there for a second.
It's when Karen says, "Show us your moves, Stephen. Show us your moves," and he starts doing the finger work there. It's very, very impressive, I think, Charlotte. Is those the kind of moves you'll be busting out at your wedding in a few weeks' time?
No. But that's probably something my dad might do. I'm not joking. If the night gets enough in it.
What I love about this is obviously this is Jenna Coleman and Karen Gillan together with Stephen Moffat there. Apparently this is the first time they've all been together like this on camera. And I just thought it was a really, really lovely thing. And Stephen Moffat shared this particular picture over on Instagram with the caption, "Old friends, old man." Bit
rude.
I think it was Karen Gillan that shot the video and put it up on her social medias. She's not a massive social media user, but she does do it now and again. And I just thought, in all seriousness, I just thought this was really charming, Charlotte. And as a fan of the Moffat era, it just needs Matt Smith there, doesn't it, doing the drunken giraffe?
Oh, yes. But it's lovely that, I've always said this, it seems to be Matt's companions whenever you see them, or with Matt. We've seen Jenna recently with Matt. They just seem to instantly get back to that vibe that we had with them. They seem to just click really easily back into what their sort of friendship they had.
Yeah. Jenna Coleman's obviously really, really tiny as well, isn't she, Sarah?
She's not that tiny. She's about mine and Charlotte's height. It's because Karen's a model.
Exactly. She's next to a dwarf.
This is just a joy to see, because just looking at that, it just takes me back to such happy times. And it's really criminal, really, that we didn't actually see much of Karen and Jenna together, because even in Asylum, they didn't have any scenes together, did they? Really?
No.
It's wonderful.
Do you think there's any reason why Jenna Coleman's dressed as a sailor there, Simon? What's going on there?
I have to be honest, I was more impressed with Stephen Moffat's dance moves than I was with Jenna Coleman's. She seemed more uncomfortable than Mr. Moffat did, in all honesty, in that clip. I don't think she was drunk enough, in all honesty. I don't think she was drunk enough.
Bless their hearts. So I love all those candid even style pictures that we see of our Doctor Who luminaries, Gary. Obviously, they do make their way over to America, but I think that when they're going about their business, when they go overseas, there's less chance of them getting spotted. So you're more likely to see them picking their nose on a street corner somewhere, aren't you?
Well, hey, if anybody sees Jenna Coleman or Karen Gillan hanging around a street corner near me, please let me know right away.
Gary will be there like a shot.
Hey, you know what? I'd give anything to be Stephen Moffat in that picture. I'll tell you.
Well, you want to be showing off your dance moves. That's what you mean, isn't it, Gary?
Yes.
Listen, I've seen Gary Akers dance moves, and he's very good actually. So, especially at disco dancing.
Oh well, yes, there you go.
Some Doctor Who figures obviously prefer to keep literally everything on the down low, even when they're out in public, like Peter Capaldi, who was seen, he was caught the other day travelling on the tube there in London. This was over the weekend in his trainers and his dark glasses, his sonic shades. Sonic shades, maybe. I think they could be.
He just looks like the Doctor there, doesn't he? Just looks like the Doctor still.
Yeah.
Lost in thought.
Yeah.
Lost in the Times crossword, I'd say. Or is that? I think I'm having a close look. Could we Take a Break magazine? I think he's reading up on who Katie Price is getting divorced from this week, Charlotte. That's what it is.
Probably.
Yeah.
You've got to hand it to him that he's travelling on underground, no problem at all. And although he's got the dark glasses on, it's not like he's got a hat on or anything like that to sort of cover him up. He's pretty distinctive, isn't he? It's pretty obvious it's Peter Capaldi.
Oh yeah, he's not one that can blend in a crowd.
No,
like,
not at all.
Which is good. Like an Eccleston. I can picture Eccleston being on a train or a tram, sort of hiding quite easily.
Yeah, he would. He'd have the hat on. Wouldn't he have a baseball hat, and he'd disappear under that, and he'd pull up the collar. Whereas Capaldi is very, very, very obviously there on that photo. He's no shame at all. Good for him.
Capaldi's got gorgeous hair. It'd be a crime to cover that hair up with a hat.
When I first saw this picture, I'm being serious now. I debated with myself for about 10 minutes about what I would do if I was on this train and I saw Peter Capaldi sitting there. It's like, do I go up and tell him how much I loved him? Do I respect his privacy? What do I do? And I still couldn't decide.
I don't think he'd call you a jelly brain, but would you have the nerve to disturb Peter Capaldi there, Jack? And if so, what would you say to him?
Oh, I mean, I would be very nervous, yeah. But if I went over to him, I'll just say, thank you for being one of the best doctors we've ever had. And also could congratulate him on his new show on, is it Apple? I think he's doing or something.
Yeah.
Because he's done a lot of roles over the years, and he's very passionate about what he does. So yeah, I'd certainly. Oh, and also maybe ask for a cheeky autograph as well. But
congratulate him on his amazing head of hair, well into his 60s as well. I think he'd like that. Let's know what you think in the comments too. Would you have the nerve to disturb 12 lost in thought like that? Have you the memories of him castigating many stupid humans on the show back from 2014 to 2017, way back then? I think we should, enough of trying to read Peter Capaldi's thoughts there. We should instead read the thoughts and the comments from everybody who's watching this as we live stream across YouTube, Rumble, and on Facebook. Let's get into the comments, everybody, and see what's going down.
Make sure you watch Type 40 or the universe will crash on you.
Yes, she's absolutely right, everybody. Absolutely right. Ahoy, shipmate, says Crimpling Doubloon to welcome us back to Thursdays here in Type 40 Live land. Crimpling Doubloon's here too, sorting himself out with Jaffa cakes, just as we all are with our favourite snacks and our favourite drinks. I've always got a tipple on the go. I think yes, Simon has too.
I have glass tonight, not
well, I've got my mug.
Yeah. Very, very good. Lord Thoth is here with a hi, everyone. And so is Wen. She's here too. And they're all saying hello to one another. Good morning from San Francisco. Offers the time scales.
Is it foggy there, time scales? We need to know. Bet it is in Frisco.
Doug Sims is in the house as well with a 40ers.
Hey, Doug. Welcome.
He's looking up old friends. Yes. Yes, we have Darren M in as well. Good to have you with us too, Darren. We have Rob Alexander too. Rob says, with this Type 40 double feature, you are spoiling us. That's my Thursday night sorted. Happy to help. John Yordan's around too. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, John.
Hi, John.
Yeah. He's quoting Wayne's World here. Well, that's a deep cut, Gary. What's he mean? I'm far too young to know.
Party time, excellent.
No idea what you're talking about, mate. Evening. First some tea back in all of a sudden. Insist. I hope you're back by now. I hope the tea.
Got to have some tea.
Tom's in as well from Tea.
Hello, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Tom's tempted to make a fish person from the Underwater Menace. I see. That's going to be an interesting one to see.
Heretics here too. Hi everyone. Type 40 on the PC monitor. West Ham on the TV. Living room to myself. You're more likely to get the result that you want right here at Type 40 Live than with West Ham. I don't know. I have no idea who is any good in football nowadays. Not the faintest. Fancy meeting you here.
What's football?
I'm not entirely sure. Jamie Reese says hello all to get us out of that one. Happy to have you back, Jamie. And we have, Darren M says, rest in peace to the classic 80s fanboy. That's our friend Carl, of course. Sad news a few days ago that the long-standing supporter of the show and YouTuber in his own right, Carl, the classic 80s fanboy, sadly passed away just a few days ago. And obviously our deepest condolences to his friends and his family. And he'll be missed just by us here on the panel. Very, very witty man.
Yeah, it's really, really sad. I was just gutted when I heard about this week because he used to put so many comments in the chat. The chat, we love everybody in the chat, but the chat is just a little bit dimmer this evening, sadly. He's one of those people. He was one of those people that we feel that and I would imagine that other people in the comment section felt the same. You feel like you know one another. We feel that we know you, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And I've been thinking about Carl all week, Charlotte.
Yeah, and we've said quite a few times, like before the show started, everybody's in the chat saying hello to each other and talking for about half an hour usually before. So it's a proper community, and it's always sad when we lose someone from that community.
Yeah. And as I say, especially one who was always so active, there was just always so many comments from the classic 80s fanboy, and they were always bang on comments. So as I say, it's sad this evening to be doing the show without Carl in the chat. Hope you're up there and enjoying it wherever you are, mate.
Yeah, and if any of you were lucky enough to know Carl in real life, in the real world, let us know. Share your memories of Carl too, about the things that you geeked out with him over and the things that were important to him. Lots more comments too, saying similar sorts of things. So yeah, we can celebrate our friendship and pay our respects to Carl here at Type 40 Live. Do our little bit. Hello to chat, and hello to all. Rose, you're going to have to help me out here.
That's pretty out there, Rose. Come on.
I think she's excited, Sarah, but I'd rather people be like that than the other way around. Morning.
Hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Time traveller, up early. Happy Friday to you, buddy. And Rob's here. I think we've already seen Rob, haven't we? Yes, we have. Hello again, Rob. And we've got Helen. Yeah, they're all talking here, as is Mark Milford. Couldn't agree more, Mark.
Yes, Mark.
And so Matt is up and about. YW2324 says
hello, love.
Hello.
YW2324 has apparently not yet seen Delta and the Bannermen.
What?
Yeah, I know. Don't quit while you're ahead, YW. Just
temper your expectations.
Trust me on this one. Don't listen to Dan.
Or if you're going to watch it, have a bit of a drink before you watch.
A lot of a drink.
And it will be a better experience.
And we've got people sharing their gripes about that new TARDIS console in the chat as well. And Doug Sims likes the new TARDIS. It just needs a hat stand, a bit of antique furniture, a few bits and pieces and souvenirs from time travels, Jack. It does definitely need it, doesn't it? Even if it's just a throw here or there.
Yeah, it does. And I guess it, could be a little bit of, like character building throughout the season, So you can pinpoint, that came from that episode. Oh, the Doctor got that, I don't know, Cyberman head from this episode or something,
Bring back handles, Jack. Bring back handles.
Yes. Hashtag bring back handles. Yeah.
It starts here, everybody. It starts here. Simon Ashley's my new best mate. I'm with Jack from the Bannermen. Good man.
Simon, why?
So you're the other one, right? Okay, now we know.
Together we'll change the universe. We'll change the minds one by one, Simon.
You won't, Dan. You won't. Give up.
I must admit, yeah, it's been a couple of years now. I'm not getting very far, but you know, we live in hope. We live in hope. Yes, we've shaken Heretic with that talk of West Ham. He's talking about how they're doing and how they're not. Vanessa asks, what season is Delta and the Bannermen in? It's in season 24, Vanessa, season 24. Yeah, there's get it in your life as soon as possible if you've never seen it, and then get back to us.
Vanessa, you can wait. Just enjoy Peter Davison. There's no rush for Delta.
Yeah, so as I always say, keep the comments coming, everybody. There's a lot to get into. As always, more merriment and more love for Delta and the Bannermen and all corners of the Doctor Who universe on and off screen here at Type 40 Live. As always, if you don't believe me and us, you can probably listen to him.
You're watching Type 40.
Now. That's Sonia, isn't it? Sarah.
That's a bit random.
Well, you might say that, Simon. You might say that now.
I did. I just said it.
You see before you the form,
Hunk.
How do I get into these things? You see before you the form of a genuine pop icon. This is the recording artiste known as Shakin Stevens, aka Michael Barrett. So this gentleman was a staple of the UK pop charts from about 1981 through to, I'd say, 85, 86. A string of hits, wasn't it, Simon? And we still hear some of them played to this day, don't we?
Yeah, we do. In fact, I think I'm right in saying he is the biggest selling male artist in the entire history of pop music in the UK. I'm pretty certain on that. Somebody in the chat might correct me on it, but I think that's a fact.
What, not bigger than Cliff?
I think he is. I'm pretty sure he is the biggest selling artist, male artist. I'm sure. I'm going to do some research into that, and I'll let you know. Why are we talking about Shakin Stevens, Dan?
So, you're quite right. In the UK alone, Shakin Stevens charted with 33 top 40 singles, including This Old House, Green Door, and the classic Christmas record, Merry Christmas Everyone, which we still hear all the time. Any idea who Shakin Stevens is at all, Jack?
No, I don't know.
Oh, you're so old.
This bloke. Total honesty, as always, for Jack. So you may be wondering, what on earth is he doing on a Doctor Who live stream? Well, this could be a product of my diseased mind, because Shaky, aka Michael Barrett, he clocked up a birthday this very week. Michael Barrett, aka Shakin Stevens, was 76 years old this week, and he publicised it on social media with this picture, which I thought, my God, doesn't he look like the Doctor here? He's got the scarf, he's got the trench coat, he's got the waistcoat, and he's even got some sort of Sonic-y shades. And it says here on the social medias, it says, today's a special day for Shaky. Please join us in wishing him a very happy birthday. So I did what any Shaky fan would do, and I wished him a very, very happy birthday. And I told him how much I thought he looked like Doctor Who. And then I had a closer look. At this picture. And it turns out it's not his official card, but it is the cover of his latest album. So he is still putting albums out, Simon. This is the cover to his album from last year called Reset. And he looks he's taking in the air there. And there was still something about it that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And then I realised where I'd seen it before. It's not him, it's the background. It's the reason.
I was thinking it's the Quarry.
It's the Quarry.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
What is it, Charlotte?
It's the Quarry. It's Doctor Who. They probably filmed in that quarry about 50 times.
It looks like the Five Doctors. That's it. It's the Five Doctors Quarry. I was about to say it's the Five Doctors Quarry.
It is indeed, and it got to me so much. Jack. This is how it gets like when you get to my age. It got to me so much that I had to find out if my eyes were deceiving me or not. But no, this is the same place in Snowdonia where they filmed the Five Doctors, Sarah. And you can tell by the slate, can't you? The colour.
Yeah.
I can tell immediately as soon as I saw it. I was like, that's the Five Doctors Quarry.
Surely that album cover would be greatly improved by having 5 Cybermen stood behind it.
I was going to say, is there a Rastan Warrior robot on the back cover?
Yeah, that's what you need. Doing this.
Or you could just have one in the background with half its head blown off. Like,
Good. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, so I'm very keen. I'm very keen on this kind of thing, mainly because I was just so relieved that I wasn't going nuts.
Oh God, is this what it's going to be for the next 6 weeks until we get some news?
yes.
Listen, I'd rather talk about the quarry that the Raston Warrior Robot was in than some costume on Ncuti Gatwa in blur vision from 300 miles away.
Oh,
bring it on, Dan. Bring it on.
At least Shaky's wearing pants.
But yeah, it really is a great Doctor. It's very, it's a Capaldi jacket, and then you've got.
Yeah, it is the Capaldi jacket. Yeah,
I do like this. I do like the scarf. Is it a scarf or is it a cravat? I can't tell.
It is a scarf. It is a scarf. Peter Harrington says, Shakin Stevens in the death zone. Now there's an episode.
Yes.
Yeah, you could do that. You could actually do that. We've had the Doctor meet Agatha Christie and Charles Dickens. Shakin Stevens. He's bound to get round to it eventually.
Yeah. Maybe he's a Doctor Who fan.
I was going to say, we've got the Beatles coming up.
We
A musical act, historical.
It won't be long. It won't be long. Vanessa Law says, I've no idea who this is.
Oh, Vanessa. Just Google. Just go onto YouTube and look up Shakin Stevens.
You've heard the Christmas song. Everybody's heard his
Christmas
song.
You'll have heard the Christmas song.
And the rest of you can just send in the Cybermen to take me out now while there's still time. Yes. So yes, that was the remote area of the Lincombe bike. Oh, Darren's in the live chat. He's going to kill. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. It is Snowdonia.
Darren, tell us how to pronounce it properly.
In North Wales, there, exactly where they filmed those fantastic scenes from the 5 Doctors that still send shivers to this very, very day. The other thing that struck me as well this week is how now we are in. Obviously, this is Doctor Who. This is the Whoniverse, Jack. We're always celebrating something, and it's always an anniversary of something. But it just so happens that yesterday was the 25th anniversary of recording starting on the first official full Doctor Who audio for Big Finish. Wow. So the director was Nick Briggs. I think he wrote it as well. The story was called The Sirens of Time, and it starred these 3 fellas. It starred Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy. And this kicked off what we now know as the main range, Gary, that ran until about 18 months ago, didn't it?
Look at that picture. I mean, just wow. I've never seen this picture. That's amazing. Yeah, and it's hard. I remember at the time you think, wow, this is kind of an unusual novelty, a little special event to get all 3 original Doctors together in an original story. Little do we know how many decades later they're still pumping them out.
Yeah.
It feels like hundreds of years.
Yeah. This particular line of audio dramas knocked up, well, I think it was approaching 300 full cast audios. And the Sirens of Time was, it was a strange story because on one hand, what we now know is the range ended up being very, very successful. But I suppose at the time, Simon, they couldn't possibly have known. They recorded 4, they scheduled 4, and they promoted 4. But then there was nothing for a few months. Do you remember they very tentatively stepped into Doctor Who audios, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can still remember sort of the announcements in Doctor Who magazine at the time that this was happening. And sort of Doctor Who audios had been talked about for since the mid-'80s, early mid-'80s. And so I remember the big announcement about this and the big hype around it. It was all very exciting at the time that we were going to get this, especially with sort of 3 Doctors. As I recall, wasn't it 3 episodes, 1 each, and then the 4th episode was them all together? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it was big news. It was really big news back in the day.
And then for the rest of that block of 4, they each got a story, didn't they, that followed on afterwards. And then they rested it for about 8 months, didn't they? And they came back the following January with another. I think there was 8 in the second block, something like that. My memory's a little cloudy, but it was eventually released, wasn't it, later on in 1999? I think it was around June, something like that. So a lot quicker turnaround than they have on these now. But it's quite a slight story. But I think the reason why it works is because you can listen to each episode sort of in isolation and get a flavour for that particular Doctor. Are you an audio guy, Jack? Do you listen to many of the audios?
Oh, not as much anymore. You know, I do think some of the more recent ones are a little bit more when it comes to modern Who. I think they're a bit of a cash grab. You know, you got Jackie Tyler meeting the 8th Doctor and stuff, which I think is a little bit.
It gets a bit desperate, doesn't it, Jack?
Yeah, and you know, like, yeah, but I do have a lot of respect for like the classic Who stuff, especially the earlier parts of the range, because you can listen to them now on Spotify as well for free, which is bloody amazing. And they hold up really well. And you know, I can only imagine, you know, at the time, this was like the only way Doctor Who was continuing. And you know, it's you know, it's important for, you know, fans back then, and it just shows, you know, that people were that dedicated to the show, and it's lovely. It really is.
In many ways, these are the 3 Doctors that I grew up with properly. You know, I remember the earlier ones, but these were kind of my Doctors. This was my decade, and so I jumped right on these and supported them from day one. But seeing that picture of them there, they look like they're queuing for the toilets at some sort of gig to see a tribute band. The bootleg Beatles or something like that. Yeah, but it's lovely to see them all there. I think Colin's in an overshirt. I thought that only started making those recently, but yeah, it's lovely stuff. We've got a comment here in the live chat, and Heretic asks, has something happened with the Big Finish range? So that range has ended now. It lasted until 2 years ago. I saw a tweet by someone, but I couldn't make sense. Are they dropping box sets and making them monthly again, but up in the... They have been refining their entire sort of model, really, and trying different ways, because they had gone almost completely box sets a couple of years ago. Now I think they're doing some single disc releases and do sort of multi-part stories, Jack, aren't they? And doing these sort of event things like Dark Gallifrey and Once and Future. So they are experimenting, aren't they? It's a soft relaunch.
Yeah, it is. And I you know, I guess for those that are dedicated to the audios, you know, there's multiple flavors. You know, if you want your classic stuff, if you want, you know, your multiple story arcs, you can just pre-order them all at once, like I did with Once and Future. You know, you can drop like £70, and then you've got all of them when they individually release, which is pretty cool.
It is definitely difficult to know where to start when it comes to Big Finish, but they did start very, very well, and I think the quality was impeccable for a very, very long time. We'll be revisiting the Big Finish range sooner rather than later here at Type 40. There's a lot to get stuck into when it comes to audio Doctor Who, and like you, we're just wondering precisely where to start. Big Finish has made Doctor Who longer than classic series on the BBC, Gary. That's true, isn't it? 26 years on TV. So Big Finish, they're matching it now with 25. Yeah.
Almost.
We're getting there. Yeah. We're getting there. I kind of got burnt out following it all, says Heretic. Well, yeah, I can sort of.
That's the problem. Guess. There's just so many of them.
Yes.
And they were increasingly sort of characters from one box set would appear in another box set, and you couldn't like just listen to them as separate anymore. They were increasingly mixing. And I think if you didn't like, for example, the 6th Doctor range, but his companion popped up in the 8th Doctor range, you would be completely like, what on earth is happening?
Yeah,
completely lost. What on earth is going on? Yeah, I couldn't agree. Perhaps when it comes to Doctor Who on audio, the best thing to do is just to pick a Doctor that you like and hit something at random. Pick a writer that you like. I think it's a lot like comic books in that respect. But obviously, I've got more boxes full of these CDs than I can count. And there are some that I've listened to over and over again. I have listened to Sirens of Time. Sirens of Audio, and you was going to do that. Hello, Dwayne. Hello, Philip. I've listened to the Sirens of Time several times because it is so it's so easy to get into. You know, it's the sort of thing you can put on and kind of have on in the background, and you listen to the sort of the familiarity of it. Is what I think is what was captivating about it, really, and it was absolutely the right first story for that range. Cliff Maxwell says, if anything, I recommend starting Big Finish with the 8th Doctor. It's a fantastic leap into what could have been great on TV. Yeah, I think that was effectively the second launch for Big Finish when they got Paul, which I think was 2002, something like that. Yeah. And Rob says, I think the Bernice Summerfield range convinced the BBC to give Big Finish the full license. That is indeed the truth. Yeah, I think they always intended on going for Doctor Who itself, but yeah, they definitely tempted them with those Bernice Summerfield audios that still starred Lisa Bauman all those years ago.
And wasn't it a great punch the air moment, at least for me, when during Night of the Doctor, McGann basically canonized all of his Big Finish companions by running through all of their names. It's like,
Yeah, that was a lovely moment. I was very happy with Moffat for doing that.
Yeah.
Look how popular the 8th Doctor series is. Comment after comment here in the live chat on YouTube from Peter Harrington and YW and Mark Milford. Anything 8th Doctor, anything John Hurt. Yeah, a lot of people are still big fans. Obviously, not everybody can get into the audio stuff. It's just like the books. Not everybody's a reader, either are they, Jack? But again, it's good to have this stuff out there, and people can sort of pick and choose what they listen to, what they read. That's very much my view of it.
Yeah, same here. I mean, the only reason I started listening to Big Finish was, I think it was 2021 with Dalek Universe. It was the David Tennant little trilogy. And yeah, for me, I really enjoyed that because it felt like if David Tennant got another series, and that was my gateway into Big Finish, and I started listening to stuff like the Chimes of Midnight with Paul McGann and stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then diving into that stuff, and just constantly listening to the older Big Finish when I get the chance.
Let us know in the comments section if you were there when the Sirens of Time was released, and did you pre-order it like I did? I pre-order it? I think I did. I can't remember exactly where I bought it from. I did, yes. I ordered this from a local comic book store. That's how you had to get them back then, and I had to explicitly state I wanted the CD and not the double tape cassette version, Simon.
Oh, I remember double cassettes.
As I recall, I think the first episode or one of the episodes was given away on a free CD in Doctor Who magazine that month, as I recall.
So yeah, happy 25th anniversary to Big Finish and their Doctor Who range. We'll be revisiting that at some point in the future. Yes, the television, obviously back on the TV, we are still shy of a new season, new episodes of Doctor Who. They're going to fix that. They're going to fix that soon. Doctor Who is still in the media though, and still catching people's attention and used as fuel for satire like this in Private Eye. Just this week, the latest in a long line of Doctor Who satirical topical cartoons. And this one's, it's a Dalek hiding behind the sofa this time. Why? I think it's like 2 children or a husband and wife or something like that. Yeah, they're 2 kids. So the kids are on the sofa, the Dalek's behind the sofa and the kids are saying, you can come out now. The news is over. Scary, scary times. Don't watch the news, anybody. Don't watch the news.
Do not watch the news. Yeah.
But when I saw this, Simon, it reminded me of my childhood when Doctor Who was always in little cartoons like this, or dropped into strips in the Beano or Buster, whichever comics that you read. There was little references to Doctor Who here and there.
Always. You're right. I forgot about those in the Beano. Yeah, you would often find just a little Dalek or something, just really, really tiny in the corner. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, doesn't it, that we've said about this before, but the Daleks truly are a cultural icon that everybody knows and everybody gets. As soon as you see a Dalek, you get the joke immediately. There's nothing to explain there. They don't need to explain it. And so it just goes to show how much of a cultural touchstone Daleks still are. 60 years later. 60
years, yeah. Very, very pretty, nicely coloured as well. I like the livery of this Dalek. It looks a bit like one of the movie Daleks, I think, Charlotte.
Yeah, that it's more like the blues. Yeah, definitely make me think of the movie. And like Simon said, it's just they just hit gold so much with the Dalek design, and there's a reason that it's never really changed that much. Obviously, colours have changed. They've added stuff. They've taken stuff away, but the silhouette pretty much hasn't changed, and there's a reason for it.
And the other thing as well that goes with that, Charlotte, is that, I mean, that's not a very anatomically correct Dalek by any stretch of the imagination. But it doesn't matter. It's incredible. You can as long as you've got a few balls there and a couple of lumps on the top, and
the eyes
sticking out, you've got a Dalek. It is incredible that they just don't have to be very accurate to be obvious it's a Dalek. Such a clever design.
As always, we'll be hitting you with more pretty pictures a little later on. But the last of our opening shots here has to be to notify you of this. Talking about real telly, I wonder if the Dalek is brave enough to head over to BBC One and catch the wheel here, which is in a couple of days' time. So this is on Saturday, as of time of recording, Saturday, March the 9th, 2024. Michael McIntyre hosts this sort of game show. I mean, I'll be honest, I think this looks horrendous. I think I'd rather go to the dentist than watch this for an hour. But
it's truly awful. I've caught bits of it and it's just unwatchable, but there we go.
Michael McIntyre hosts as Russell T. Davies, along with Deborah Meaden, AJ Adudu, Bash the Entertainer, whoever that is, Lucy Beaumont, Harry Redknapp and William Hanson try to help the contestants answer their way to a fortune. So this just sounds like generic game show territory. But where do the celebrities come into it? Has anybody seen this? Can they boil it down and tell me what's going on?
Yeah, what happens is all the celebrities. I mean, I'm amazed that Russell T Davies is now classed as a celebrity, presumably. That's the scariest thing about this particular story. But yeah, basically what happens, Dan, is that the member of the public sits in the middle in the chair that Michael McIntyre is now sitting in. All the celebrities sit in the chairs on the outside, which you can see in the background. And they all sort of spin round and various people are sick. And they ask questions. And they ask questions, and I'm out. Beyond that, I don't know what happens. But all the celebrities sit on the outside, and there you go. That's all you need. So
the celebrities have to answer the.
Something
have to help
like that.
So it's a bit like blankety blank.
It's very much like blankety blank. Yeah,
but not as good. I'd rather watch Blankety Blank.
Nobody gets hit in the balls like they do on Gladiators, Jack. I don't know if I fancy this.
Say, now you know what's happened. Gladiators has finished, and now we've got Michael McIntyre to replace it.
I do find it amazing the way the arguments I always hear in defence of the license fee is that, if we get rid of the license fee, BBC will turn into ITV. I'm like, it is ITV. What Gladiators on? It used to be on ITV. It's turned into ITV. So why are we still paying the license fee? We've got there.
Sam says, I like the wheel. Okay, I'll go stand in the corner. In all seriousness, Sam, I've never seen it, and I like a bit of silliness as much as anybody. But I just thought it was worth bringing to your attention that Russell T Davies is on this in a couple of days' time. Sarah, you gonna take a look at this?
No.
Listen, we've got to answer YW2324's question in the chat. What's blankingly blank, or whatever it's called? Blankety blank, YW blankety blank. We talked about on a show only about 3 weeks ago, Dan?
That's right. Yeah. If you're American, then you'll know it as the game show Match Point. Match game. Oh, Match Gary, game. I was so close. I think you're correct.
Well remembered. But anyway, we talk. Yeah, go back and look at the diary about 2 or 3 weeks ago. YW, we talk about it because there was a Doctor Who star on it back in the day. Go and have a look.
Is Blankety Blank the one that's hosted by Bradley Walsh?
That's right.
It is now. Yeah.
Peter Harrington simply says, "Bring back the wall." That was there was another Saturday night.
Terrible.
Yeah. That was. If they're bringing back anything, they need to bring back Supermarket Sweep because that was classic.
I think they did for a couple of years. I think they
did with Rylan. Rylan presented it.
Yeah, and it was nowhere near as good.
No, of course it wasn't. No, we need the generation game back. That's what we need back on a Saturday night. The generation game.
Generation game. But who would host it?
I don't know. Bradley Walsh, of course.
Bradley Walsh or Rylan or Alison
or Rylan.
Three of them.
Or if Bradley Walsh was sick that day, probably his son, because he's getting a lot of jobs now.
Oh dear me! You can seek solace if all of that sounds like it's enough to turn your stomach. I know exactly where you can get your fix of proper gold, proper good stuff over at the Type 40, over at the Type 40 home feed at type40.podbean.com. That's where you can get your fill of all our podcasts in your ears. Some of the latest editions there. We have our 60th anniversary specials that we put out. We had our live show there at Hooverville. We were on stage there with some guests, Simon, Sarah, Shah, and myself. We stalked the guests at Hooverville. And then there was my chat there with Will Hadcroft. He disclosed all about the Resurrection Plant, his audiobook from BBC It's BBC Audio, wasn't it? Yeah, BBC Audio. So we went in and did a deep dive on that too. And the very latest edition drops now as well. And in this one, we got right on the breaking news about these exciting changes to the I think this is the biggest fan group of any TV show, organised fan group in the world, that is. I don't count the Trekkers. The Trekkers just sort of ramble around here and there, dressed in their pyjamas, don't they? This is the real deal. This is the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. It was founded in 1976 and has existed ever since. But they're on the cusp of a massive reinvention, and they issued a special announcement about that this very week. We were lucky enough to get Tony Jordan into the show. Tony's the coordinator of DWAS at the moment. He spent years off and on working for them, hasn't he? In his spare time. It's all staffed by volunteers, isn't it, Simon? But they've made this special announcement, and we go in deep down. We asking the questions that you'd want the answers to about what's next for the Doctor Who Appreciation Society. That's on the very next edition of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast. It was a bit of a revelation, wasn't it, Simon? And to speak about something which we've all grown up with, there's always been a Doctor Who Appreciation Society as long as I've been alive, really, practically.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's certainly been one as long as I can remember. I talk about it in the show with Tony Jordan, where I first became aware of the Appreciation Society in 1983 at the Longleat celebration when I was 15, and so I joined just straight away because I just couldn't believe how exciting it was to find out that there was a whole society dedicated to Doctor Who. I always thought it was interesting that it's an Appreciation Society and not a fan club. You know what I mean? A fan club just sounds so cheap, doesn't it? Whereas an Appreciation Society sounds so learned. And I think to an extent that's what you work against
jackets in the armchair.
Yeah. I actually think it worked against them a little bit in the early days because it does sound a little bit like a bit of an exclusive club.
No, you're right.
Really understand and appreciate Doctor Who to be in it. But I don't blame them for going for it.
It doesn't sound like the kind of thing you can go to and just have a little membership card and an enamel badge. It sounds like you do have to wear robes and recite some sort of pledge, Jack. But times do change, and we're happy to say that the society is changing with them. And you can get all the details on the latest episode of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast there from Tony himself. So hit up the playlists or head over to type40.podbean.com, or you can find the episode on the podcatcher of your choice, along with all those other episodes of Type 40, our Doctor Who podcast. Thank you again for all your enthusiasm and engagement for everything we get up to here across the live shows and the podcasts and the extra videos. We deeply, deeply appreciate it. Keep the comments coming. Keep your ears peeled, and make sure you're still subscribed to. If you think you're still subscribed, please do double check, because they can be little tinkers, can't they? They can be. Where should we go next? We'll instead go with one of these. Yes, so whilst we've been sat here moaning about the weather and bemoaning the fact that there's still no full season of Doctor Who, some of us get up off our armchairs. I was going to say off something else then. Is it after the watershed? Yes, it is. The moment's gone. Yeah, some of us get up out of the armchairs and we hit the B roads and the motorways in search of glory, in search of Gallifrey, and in search of the Whoniverse, times and spaces, past and present. And you did very much that this week, didn't you, Jack? You went down to London, didn't you, for a big Event?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, to Comic Con. Good old Comic Con.
So this is the one, MCM Comic Con London. So they hold these twice a year, don't they, as I understand it? They're really quite big affairs.
So just a little tad correction. So it was the Showmasters one I went to, which is, I know it's a bit confusing because they also...
I didn't know there were different ones. I must be honest. I thought there was only MCM.
No, to be fair, there's MCM, Showmasters, and then there's now MegaCon.
Oh, okay.
We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, it's not like it's live or anything like that, Dan. It's fine. Nobody knows.
Fine.
But they hold these. They do hold these twice a year, though, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's always like with all these big ones in London. Yeah, they always have big exhibitions. I think they're all held in the same venue, to be honest, twice a year, and they always end up having the same guests, to be honest. But
so there's still things like dealers' rooms, so you can still buy merchandise and things like that, can't you? But the idea is that you can meet the stars of the shows and the movies.
Yeah. Oh yes. And I've met a few.
Do you go to each one, or do you decide which ones to go to based on which guests they announce?
It's mainly depending on who's announced, because it's a good point you brought up at MCM, because whilst I've done a few live shows there and stuff, and there's a lot of cool Doctor Who stuff there that you can buy and experience. You'll always see Daleks roaming about. But in terms of guests, you don't really get any Doctor Who guests at MCM. Like, I think the once we had Kevin McNally and David Bradley, but other years you don't really see anyone there. It's normally showmasters or anywhere else you'll see them.
Jack gets around, says the timescales. Looks like all the rumours are getting out there, Jack.
Oh, yeah, I know. Whoopsies. Sorry about that, guys.
Tardis Travel says the Comic Cons are quite expensive to attend, I think. Are they? I mean, does it depend on the deal that you get? Can you get a deal on travel and on accommodation? Or if you get a ticket of entry, can you get so many signatures in with it? How does it work, Jack?
So, again, it depends on the actual convention themselves. But normally you can get, say, for example, if you book an entry ticket, you can go through the website and you can book accommodation, like a hotel or something, and you get like a 20% discount or something. And then when it comes to signatures, unfortunately, you don't really get deals with them. But I did find, especially we'll be talking about this later, but when it came to getting Billie Piper's autograph, I was able to get a bundle with like a standard photograph, an autograph, and attendance at a panel, all bundled in alongside priority for about £100 or so, which was, in my opinion, a bit of a deal and saved me a bit of money instead of getting them all individually and queuing up.
Yeah.
So
what convinced you to attend this one in particular then? Who was it?
I'll be honest, it was Billie Piper. I'll be completely honest.
Billie Piper.
Can't say I blame you, Jack.
So what is it about Billie in particular then? Is it because you grew up watching her? Is it a long-standing crush? What is it?
Basically both of them, to be honest.
Good man.
But yeah, it was because I had met her previously before, but this is at one of the Telford Comic Cons, but unfortunately at the time there was still social distancing measures and stuff in place. So I wasn't able to go and meet her for an autograph because the queues were through the roof, and the photo I wasn't too pleased with. So I was like, you know what, we're now in 2024. I'm going to go over and obviously get the autograph and get a better photo. So,
and you've been good enough to share them with us as well. So this is you with lovely Billie Piper.
Yeah.
In
front of the TARDIS.
Billie, says Lord Thoth. She does look, she's dressed like Ace for a start there. And she looks, obviously, depending on which role that she's playing at the moment, she dyes her hair. They all have to change their appearance slightly, don't they? But this is a lovely picture. Yeah. And you can tell you do look really pleased.
You do look like the cat that's got the cream on that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was an absolute joy, and and with the other guests as well, they're always up for having a good, chat with you, even if it's just for like a few minutes whilst you're getting your autograph done. It's just really nice to, like appreciate the work and to just have a general natter. It's just really cool to have.
YW says, I've never been to a convention before. I'd be too shy to say hi. Do you think that for some people, it is people who may feel it's slightly intimidated, even though Billie and everybody else, they're just human beings? A great many people do feel that way, don't they, Jack?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, when I first my first one I ever attended was in 2019. That again was another Telford one, and that was a big one. They had David Tennant, Matt Smith, Peter Davison, basically every Doctor you can imagine was there. And I found the queues were quite intimidating, and especially like the way they structure, the ticket purchases and stuff like that. But honestly, what I'd say is if you've got a friend or if you know anyone that's going, and just like meet up with them, and they can show you the ropes, and you can just kind of get used to the stuff, and never be afraid to ask staff questions as well, because even now I still get confused by some of the the stuff that's thrown out there.
We've got a comment here from Bunch of Wallies that says, if Chris Eccleston is talking crap about Russell T Davies, sign me up. And that's
he is known for that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Bunch of Wallies.
So we've got this picture of you with Billy, but she did sign this DVD for you as well.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. So now I've got both Chris and Billy that have signed that. So that's the series 1 duo. I'm really happy about that.
That's a keeper.
And,
that's brilliant, Jack. I'm so pleased for you.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot for me because that series as well. Like in my opinion, that was like a perfect series.
It was absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And holds up very well even to this day. And
I don't think Doctor Who in 21st century has ever been better, in all honesty, than that first series.
Yeah, I agree.
So when you can meet a star from a time in the series history where you'd either just found it or it struck a particular chord with you, I think that's probably what a lot of people find can stun them into silence, Charlotte.
Yeah, because I think, I know everybody's different, but I know with me, there's a lot of emotion attached to that series for me as well, because like Jack, that was my starting point. And I know if I was to meet anybody in Doctor Who, but I think Billy or Chris or anybody from series 1, it would almost take me back to being 11 again and watching it and falling in love with the show, because that sort of memory is attached to those people. And I think we just do that naturally because we just adore the show so much and we adore the people that gave us that.
Billy is an absolute sweetheart, says Lord Thoth.
Yeah.
Was she lovely, Jack? Was she nice to you?
Yeah. She was very polite, and I did see as well whilst I was queuing up. She was like, coming from around the other side of the table and making a fuss with the young children that were there as well. And she was
brilliant.
she's been really lovely with them.
Fabulous stuff. The Timescale says, I've been to tons of sci-fi cons. I've worked at many, never a Doctor Who con. Good advice from Jack. Go with a friend.
Yeah, if you can, I would agree with Jack. Best thing to do.
The autograph looks awesome, says JW. This was my first Doctor Who I saw back in 2013.
Wow.
I found out that YW is 24 years old. Oh, boy, do I feel old.
No, this is just great. Yeah, lovely pictures, Jack, and it's one of those, isn't it? You think, well, now I've met said person, it's out of the bucket list, it's ticked off the list. But a great many people do go back and meet the same people again, and strike up sort of not a rapport with them, I think is how I describe it, a rapport. And I think that's why people sort of dress in cosplay as well, because I understand there were several people dressed as Rose and the Moment there at the time, and they've been sharing their pictures with her on social media too. I just think that's fantastic, Sarah.
It is. Again, this is the best fandom, and we're so creative, and see people so passionate what they do, and it's got to be touching for Billy as well to see, this job that she did. I mean, gosh, it was, her first major acting role. To see that it still resonated with people, and there is an entire generation of adults now who were kids. That's got to be the best part of the job. And Doctor Who isn't really just a job, is it? It's a lifelong thing.
But I think
lifestyle.
Oh, it is. But I think for her, though, it must be so weird because she had to prove so much. She had to there were so many naysayers.
Yes.
And if you think about that first episode, it was her episode, really. The Doctor was there, but he was pretty much a side character. It was called Rose. It was about her. And I think she must have been so nervous. And then to still see now that she can get that reaction and that she's that sort of beloved in the role.
If the public, never mind, the fan, there's obviously a proportion of fans that were going to watch because it was coming back. But if the public had not warmed to her, series 1 would just have gone. It'd have just
Oh,
died
yeah.
there. That would have been the end of the experiment. So she is as much integral to that first series as Chris and Russell and all the other writers.
And can you believe that in just a couple of weeks it will mark 19 years since that episode?
Oh,
Wow.
now I feel old.
That does seem unlikely, but I'm looking at the calendar, and you're absolutely right. A crimpling doubloon here says, I skipped school one afternoon to go to a book signing to meet Peter Cushing.
Wow.
Imagine meeting Peter Cushing, Gary.
Wow.
I'm a monumental fan of his Doctor Who movies, so I would have loved to meet Peter Cushing.
Yeah, I'm very envious, Crimpling, of that one. Very envious.
Of course, the day I meet Shakin Stevens will be a great day indeed. Peter Cushing, now there was a genuine, proper star. We've got this one as well, Jack. Now, bang up to date, you got to meet this lady as well. I think this is my favourite of the pictures that you've sent.
Yeah, got to meet good old Ruth. Honestly, that was a pleasure as well.
So this is Ruth Madeley, isn't it? Who plays the unit operative? She was in both the Star Beast and the Giggle, wasn't she?
Yeah, and I think she's in the new season as well.
Looks like it's going to be some sort of long running character there. Yeah, lovely stuff. I can't remember the name of the character now.
Shirley Ann Bingham, I think.
That's it, Shirley.
That's it,
yeah. It's funny, it's only been a couple of months. I've forgotten already. But what I like about Ruth Madeley is she's another one of those people. If you follow her on social media on X, she just seems really, really down to earth.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that just looks such a natural picture. Again, it's lovely.
Yeah, it was really nice to go and see it. And one thing I did like as well was Showmasters put up for all of the guests that you couldn't take photos with them at the stand. But I was having a good chat with her, and I just thought at the end, I thought I'd be a bit cheeky. I was like, I don't suppose I could quickly grab a photo with you. And she was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, thank you. That's what made my day.
And you got a signed picture as well there too?
Yeah, I did, yeah. And because you can pick like which photo you want, but I really liked that scene from the Star Beast, so I was like, yeah, I've got to get that one done. And hopefully if I end up getting David's autograph in the future, I think that'll be one of the things I'll get signed to get the complete set there. Yeah,
I enjoyed those scenes as well between those two characters. I mean, I don't know what sort of chemistry she's going to have with Ncuti, but I thought it was pretty good between her and Tennant. I'd have liked to have seen more of the 14th Doctor. A couple more episodes would have been ideal, I think. But did she speak to you much about joining the Doctor Who family, Jack? Because it must be quite daunting, hadn't it?
Yeah, she said it was something along the lines of that. She knew it was big, but it was like she couldn't really comprehend it. And like even now, especially though she's filmed more episodes, and I think she even said that she's recently filmed some stuff as well. So. Well, I mean, Unit have already been seen filming for the their next season. So yeah, I think even after all that time, and I think this is probably true with the rest of the cast as well, you don't really fully appreciate Doctor Who or being a part of it until maybe like years after, And I think that's like the thing about Doctor Who, because it's that big and there's such a big fandom and I guess like a family around it. It takes a while to get your head around it, I guess.
Did she ask what was on the headphones?
I said I was just listening to a certain Billy Piper because I want to,
Oh, you should have said. You should have said you were listening to one of Ruth Madeley's audios, because she also plays a character as a companion to the 6th Doctor on Big Finish, doesn't she?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, I forgot about that.
There you go. Could have got you some extra brownie points there. Could have got an extra signature for that one. So when people said that Ruth was going to be joining the TV show, I thought it sounded like complete sort of fan wank. Simon, somebody from the audio series is going to appear, and the TV series, but of course it ends up being a completely different character.
Well. Yeah, there we go. I mean, it was ever thus, wasn't it? Look at Colin there, though. Look at Colin. Oh, that's such a sweet photo.
Yeah, he does like to be surrounded by the ladies. I have noticed they give him plenty of female companions, don't they?
Can't blame
on
him.
the Doctor Who
Can't
audios.
blame him.
Yeah. Good man. And lastly, you've sent some pictures of you meeting a genuine, not just a new Doctor Who legend, but a genuine icon of British television. Doctor Who fans internationally, we know her, Gary, as Mrs. Flood here. That's where you'll have seen her.
Right.
But to the rest of us, she's Anita Dobson. She's formerly one of the biggest stars, even now, 35 years after she left. She's still one of the biggest stars that EastEnders has ever produced. That's a serial drama. It's been running since 1985, and she was one of the original cast members, now playing the kind of nosy neighbour character, isn't she, to Ruby Sunday's family there on All New Doctor Who. And I was amazed to see her start to be listed as coming to appear at events, because you would think, obviously, that she'd probably have better things to do being such a major star.
Yeah. I know. I was completely gobsmacked when they announced her, and I was like, yeah, I've got to get my ticket. I've got to get my ticket.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, she's married to Brian May, the guitarist of Queen, or Queen and Adam Lambert, however you want to call them. Still touring now. I've often wondered what she does, actually, when Sir Brian is off touring, Sarah.
Well, probably what everybody else does. She gets to watch what she wants on TV and listen to her music and not him on his guitar.
Yeah, she's probably glad of the break.
Yeah.
They probably don't have EastEnders conventions, do they?
No, I've never seen one.
No, I haven't seen one either. I mean, the good news for Anita is this time she got to meet our Jack. There you are with Anita.
Yeah.
Oh, she's pretty glam, isn't she? There, wow.
These pictures are great, Jack.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are. That's a fantastic picture. That is.
What was she like then, Jack? What was she like to talk to?
Oh, she was lovely. I mean, she was very chatty, just like the other guests. And again, she was making a fuss of the young'uns that were there as well. And I did notice in the photo queues, I've seen other people get photos, and obviously certain, like some people do like certain poses or whatever. And I noticed there were a couple of people with envelopes with them, and I was like, hang on a minute, where do I know this from? And they did the pose.
You didn't think it was a deal? It wasn't a deal going down, was it?
No, it wasn't a deal. No. Well, it was a EastEnders-esque deal of, is it Dirty Den, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, the divorce papers.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, a bit long before your time, Jack. I remember it like it was yesterday.
35 years on, and that well, it wasn't a joke, was it? But that scene still resonates with people.
38 years. That was Christmas Day, 1986. In fact, I still think, I'm right in thinking it's still got, up until the Queen's funeral, it had got the highest sort of figures of any British television broadcasts. 30-something million. Can you remember, Simon? It was like 31.
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was an enormous number of viewers, just off the scale. Because at that point, just everybody was watching EastEnders. Simple as that.
Peter Harrington says she was a pop star too. Anyone can fall in love. Do you remember her single?
I'm sure it must have been a Stock Aitken and Waterman production, because they just did everything in those days, didn't they? Yeah, I can remember. It was to the EastEnders tune, wasn't it? It was utterly ghastly. I mean, look, it's on. I'm sure it'll be on YouTube. Just give your ears a treat.
It was excruciating. It was written. The lyrics were written by Simon May, not Brian May. Simon May was the guy who used to compose all the big BBC theme tunes back then, wasn't he? Stuff like Howard's Way and lots of other dramas and documentaries and things like that. So he was sort of their go-to guy. He was the Hans Zimmer of BBC TV in the 80s. That's the link to later on. But that is really, it makes your ears bleed, that song. So
really does.
Bless the heart.
Just excruciating. Look at her there.
Such an innocent, angelic smile. And the voice, not so much of an angel, but we love her anyway. Fabulous picture. I'd love to meet her. I would have been more intimidated by Anita Dobson probably than any Doctor Who figure. I think it's her being on the TV so much when I was a kid, Charlotte. It doesn't matter what the show is. She was that famous
Well, yeah, because like we sort of said, she was the face. She was one of the first proper faces of EastEnders. That even if you didn't watch it, you'd seen a picture of her. You'd seen her and then like a still of them two together.
Yeah.
And we said this at the time. It is a real like. I think it's still a really good get that Russell's got her, because I am really hoping that she pops up again, because she didn't have a lot to do in that special.
Yeah.
But she had some really lovely little moments when she was there. So I'm really hoping she gets more.
It does seem like she's here to stay, Charlotte. It's certainly here for longer than Ruby herself is going to be, sadly. Fly Highland says, I thought she was married to Dirty Dan. No, that's me. That's me. Fabulous pictures, Jackie. But you had a good time as well. What else did you see while you were there? Did you get to do any sightseeing, or have you been there and done that over and over again anyway?
Oh, I've done plenty of that from visiting London a lot recently. But, I just had a look around the convention, looked at the Doctor Who merch, looked at the very steep prices, and I was like, no, I don't fancy breaking the piggy bank today. So, yeah.
and I've got to say as well, you nearly could have bumped into Tom Alford, T-Dwarf Productions, who was there as well. What day did you go, Jack?
Just on the Saturday.
Okay, I think Tom was there on the Sunday, and I know he was taking some of his little figures along and gave them to Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy. He made them all proper bespoke little figures, and took on Fraser Hines.
Have we got some photos of these?
I've asked for the photos. The photos are on the way, so we'll hopefully show them on one of the shows soon. He did. I think he did an L1 robot for Colin Baker, and it's just fantastic figures. So Tom was there as well. So. Let's see the photos, Tom.
Anita's character has captured people's imaginations. Cliff Maxwell says, I think she is Ruby. The timescales, I think Mrs. Flood is the first Doctor by generation, and it could be a potential spin-off. And we've got lots of comments like that in the live chat too. So whatever else we think about the direction all new Doctor Who is going, it would seem to be that the signing of Anita Dobson is probably a good one. And she got to meet our Jack as well, which is even better. Well done.
Made her day. Look at it. Made her day.
Wow. I am pleased.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Jack. Have you got any plans for going anywhere else later in the year? Have you booked up anything else yet?
Well, there's a certain Hooverville happening.
There is. We'll see you there at Hooverville by the sounds of it. Yeah, but stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. The Doctor Who calendar rolls on. Let us know what you have in your calendar. What's logged? What are your red letter days for 2024? Who do you want to meet? Come to think of it, what would you say to Anita Dobson, to Billy Piper, or to Ruth Madeley, or any other Doctor Who celebrity? Let us know in the comment section. Keep it clean if you can. But we don't expect miracles. We don't expect miracles, do we, Simon? Okay. No. It's a big old Whoniverse out there, and Ruby Sunday, she's, well, however long she's got to find out about it, I suppose we'll just have to wait and see, won't we, Gary? But yes, time waits for no man, no woman, girl, or boy. And we've just mentioned Anita Dobson and her one-woman assault on the top 40 there, all the way back in 1985, 86, I think that was, when With Anyone Can Fall in Love. Now, if you hate us for mentioning that, we may not be in your good books once you've sampled the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break this week. We apologise. Make sure any of your pets are locked up behind closed doors, ideally with some relaxing music on. I don't know. We'll be back after the ad break. See if this brings back any warm memories for you.
He was a
space.
It started all the legend that no other could replace. Doctor in distress. Let's all answer his SOS. Doctor in distress. Bring him back now, we won't take less. Who's that doctor over there?
There were evil metal creatures who tried to exterminate.
Inside each of the casings, by the bubbling of her pain.
We met cybernetic humans with no feelings at all.
Warriors of the ice, you stood over 7 feet tall. Doctor in distress. Let's all answer his SOS. Doctor in distress. Bring him back now, we won't take less. Bring him back now, we won't take less. If we stop his travels, he'll be in a mess. The galaxy will fall to evil once more. We nightmares monsters fighting a war. Doctor in distress. Bring him back now, we won't take less. No, 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 no.
We've learned to accept 6 doctors with companions at their side.
When they were faced with danger, they didn't run, they didn't hide.
A brigadier and a master and a canine computer.
Each screaming girl just heard that a Yeti wouldn't shoot her. Doctor in distress. Let's all answer his SOS. Doctor in distress. Bring him back now, we won't take less. Doctor in distress. Let's all answer his SOS. Doctor in distress. Bring him back now, we won't take less.
Yes, everybody. Sorry. Yes, welcome back. It's another spoonful of the warm and tingly here again with Type 40 Live Doctor Who, where we cover all things Who across the Whoniverse, the world's best loved, longest running sci-fi and fantasy TV series. I'm here with a panel. Are they all together yet? I think they are. They've been moved to tears by the musical interlude that was Doctor in Distress. You're probably wondering why we're doing this to you. There is a reason, isn't there, Simon?
I'm afraid there is. There's a really, really good reason.
Gary was busting some moves whilst that
You
was
can't
playing.
believe it. I actually think this was the song that Steven Moffat and Jenna were dancing to.
It should have been.
Could be. Jack, you look like you need some smelling salts, mate. You want to bring you around?
Yeah, what can you say? You're speechless.
Right, speak, yes.
It's been nice knowing you, Jack. It's been nice knowing you, mate.
I'll have to be honest. One more thing. I actually, you may not believe me, I actually have this song programmed into my phone, and it's my alarm clock every morning.
No, stop it!
No.
I don't believe a single word of this. So yes, without further ado, this is the bit where I've got to remind you, to keep the comments across YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook coming there with the Type 40 Facebook group. Lots more to get into, apart from with Charlotte, because you've got to bounce. I mean, you've got to bounce.
What are the chances you play that song and then as soon as that...
I can't think why she wants to leave.
No, I can't either.
Bye-bye.
I'm not convinced, but we're happy to have had your company anyway. We'll see you on the next one, Charlotte.
See you next
Don't
week,
have
everybody.
nightmares. We'll speak to you later.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week.
Bye-bye. Yeah, we like to bring the gold, don't we, here at Type 40 Live? And we're gonna this is the reason why, isn't it? Why we've brought the madness. It's connected with this and a very special book and Mr. Simon Horton. Ooh.
Yeah, indeed, because incredibly, that's very. Do we dare even call it a song? I don't know whether we can call it a song. Whatever it was being recorded today in 1985. That was being recorded today in 1985. It will be released next week in 1985, but today was the very day during which it was recorded. Doctor in Distress, let's indeed all answer his SOS. Bring him back now. We simply will not take less. The lyrics just defy description. My very, very favourite lyric is that there was a brigadier and a master and a canine computer. Each screaming girl just hopes that a Yeti wouldn't shoot her. It's what can you say? What can you say? Doctor, for anybody that wonders what on earth we're talking about here, Doctor in Distress, as you can see there, it was a single, believe it or not, that it was released on vinyl. Yes, they really did waste the world's precious resources on pressing this and releasing it. It was put out, as you can see there, under the name Who Cares? The irony clearly was lost on them. They obviously hadn't tweeted that probably wasn't a very good idea to call the band for this particular record. The reason being, of course, was that Doctor Who had just been announced, believe it or not, 2 weeks ago now in 1985, 2 weeks ago from now, Doctor Who had been announced as being cancelled or at least postponed for 18 months. And so the point of this record was it was a charity record because it was only, let's not forget, this was only 2 years after Band Aid Do They Know It's Christmas and Heal the World's the American one. And so charity records like this were in, you know, where they would get a super group together. We didn't quite get a super group together for Who Cares. I don't think it could be called a super group. The idea was it was put together by Ian Levine and Paul Mark Tams, friends of the show. Hello to you guys. And apparently it was nobody seems to want to take responsibility for this. I think Ian Levine and Paul Mark Tams blame it on Gary Downey, John Nathan Turner's partner, who came up with it. Ian Levine claims in a drunken moment that they were desperate to they just wanted to bring awareness to the fact that Doctor Who'd been cancelled and they wanted to get it back. So it's written. This travesty is written by Ian Levine and Fiacre Trench, who also wrote the equally travestic, if that is a word, Canine and Company theme tune. So they've got a track record here. You can see where it's going.
Travistic, Simon. I've never heard that word before.
Is that a word? I don't know whether it is a word, but I'm just going along with the whole travesty because it is a travesty. Ian Levine did say about this particular record. He said he told The Guardian, and I quote, "It was an absolute balls up fiasco. It was pathetic. It was pathetic and bad and stupid. It almost ruined me." So he's not a fan. So. As I say, we didn't quite get a super group. They were hoping. I'm kidding you not. They were hoping for Elton John and Holly Johnson from Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, incredibly.
The cast of Starlight Express. and one of the Moody Blues.
Absolutely. Instead of that, yeah, we got Bobby G. We got Bobby G from Bucks Fizz. There he is on the right. There's Bobby G from Bucks Fizz. We got David Van Day from Dollar, Justin Hayward, Warren Can from Ultravox, Phyllis Nelson, Sally Thompson on the left-hand side. You can see in the picture now. Sally Thompson. What was happening there? And there is the wonderful Faith Brown and Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant, fresh from Doctor Who, of course. And we also got Nicholas Courtney and Anthony Ainley. And in a beautiful segue that Dan mentioned a few minutes ago, the keyboard player on this particular piece of, no, I can't call it a piece of music, on this thing was Hans Zimmer. Go figure. The keyboard player was Hans Zimmer in one of his first jobs. This could have gone so much worse because we nearly got on the record as well Black Lace. Sadly, I know it couldn't get any better, could it? Sadly, their train was cancelled from Bradford, and so they didn't make it to the recording. And we also nearly got Gary Glitter.
Oh, God, dear.
We didn't get Gary Glitter because he'd apparently dislocated his shoulder. I don't know what he was doing to dislocate his shoulder, and it's probably best we don't ask. But as a result, we didn't get Gary Glitter either. So it could have been so much worse when you think about it.
I like
You're gonna like
Glenn Simon, who says the song worked though because Doctor Who did come back. Do you think it could have swayed him?
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you why, Glenn. I'll tell you why I don't think it worked. Because actually, the record was put out for cancer relief, but sadly, they never sold enough records to actually give any money at all to cancer relief. Wow. So cancer relief got absolutely zero from this record. Apparently, some of the stars in sympathy put their hands into their own pockets and actually gave some money to cancer relief because they felt so guilty about it. The BBC refused to play it because of the poor quality and the fact that you couldn't hear what any of the people were singing.
Yeah.
So it didn't get played. So I don't think. I think Glenn, no, it wasn't. It was nothing to do with the record that saw Doctor Who coming back 18 months later.
Gary, when did word of this assault on the hit parade make its way to the States? Did you have to hear about this third hand? I gather it didn't chart the Billboard charts.
I read about it in the magazine. I'm sure the magazine mentioned it or whatever, but I didn't hear about it until I think a local comic book store that carried import Doctor Who items actually had it. I didn't buy it, but it got played.
Oh no, you don't take things to extremes.
No.
Look, I did have a copy of it. I did own it on 12-inch single. What was I thinking? I was a fan.
Look, I mean, the lyrics actually, yes, Simon is right, are dodgy, but I mean, come on, the chorus is kind of catchy.
It is catchy. You're right. Actually, it's not a bad backing track. It is the lyrics. It's the lyrics and it's the singing. It's the singing.
See how easy it was to persuade him, Dan, that there's
Dan, how many copies have you got?
I have the 7-inch and the 12-inch, including a little sticker.
Have you still got them, Dan?
I have. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I can't remember what was on the 12-inch. Tell me there wasn't an extended version of it. Dear God, please.
It's extended, but all it is, you get the single, which you've just heard in all its glory there in the break. But you get about 2 minutes before and 2 minutes after of just that backing track on a loop like that.
Oh, nice.
And there's a few extra sort of little sound effects, space effects in the background, as if Foley art. People turning off and on taps, people banging walls, and maybe smashing a couple of tellies. Right, Ian?
No, yeah, you've got to explain that one, Dan. That is Ian Levine.
Ian, if you don't lose it, mate. I mean this with the very best of intentions. I'm a big fan of Ian's, but until recently, this was a very touchy subject, and quite understandably for Ian. But a couple of weeks ago, Gareth Roberts, the former Doctor Who writer, who's a columnist for several magazines, wrote a big piece about Doctor in Distress, a really affectionate, funny article. Go and look it up if you can. I can't remember where it actually was, but it was so beautifully written, so much affection, that Ian Levine actually has seen the funny side now of Doctor in Distress, and they had a good laugh about it over on X. That was lovely to see. But this was a publicity picture, wasn't it? So this was when Doctor Who was taken off. Ian was encouraged by J&T to pose like this. I understand, Simon?
Yeah. What happened with this photo was taken literally sort of 2 weeks ago, back in 1985, in sort of late February 1985. when Doctor Who had supposedly been cancelled, and it turned out it was a massive kind of it was never cancelled. It was always postponed. They never intended to bring it back. For the original intention of the BBC was that they would postpone it and just never bring it back. But for the publicity purposes, it was never actually cancelled. But because the press made a massive thing about that it was cancelled, and so that photo was posed for the Sun newspaper, as I recall. That John Nathan Turner encouraged Ian Levine to get a television set and smash it. For the press to say how angry he was that he was tearing up his television license and smashing his television set. I understand it wasn't, unsurprisingly, his actual television set. They just bought one cheap that didn't work and smashed it. But this all happened exactly 39 years ago. Dan and I were saying recently we'll probably do a special on this whole period. This time next year, when it's 40 years, we'll do a special show on sort of the cancellation, because it's a fascinating story and it's by no means clear cut. And it was all happening exactly this week and last week. 39 years ago in 1985.
My favourite comment so far, Simon, comes from Daryl Joyce when we talked about what sound effects were on the 12-inch. He says it was the sound of people dropping tables.
Brilliant. The Sun is not a newspaper, Tardis. You're quite right. It's a comic.
We have Sean from Review It Yourself here who says, I'd love to hear that story. Be careful what you wish for. And we've got a comment.
Tune in this time next year.
I think Jack is still shell shocked.
He's very quiet.
I've heard. I have heard it before, but I don't think I can ever prepare myself for.
No, nobody can, Jack. Nobody can. Nobody can. It is actually so bad that it's good, if you know what I mean. It's just got something about it. I mean, Gary is quite right. It actually has got quite a catchy chorus, truth be told. It's just such an awful end product that the sum of the parts is definitely less than the whole, or whatever the saying goes. It's just doesn't add up, sadly.
Of course, Simon, seeing as this is Type 40 Live, we've got some people in the live chat who are trying to make a positive out of this. So we're asking if we could get some cover versions. Maybe Susan Boyle could do a cover. I think we could be down for that. Just one example of the people that maybe Keith Moon would like to do. Maybe Keith Moon.
I'd actually like to see what Bob Dylan could do with this.
Rob Alexander says you can't unsee that video. You know what, Rob Alexander? The video is made by Keith Barnfather of Real Time Pictures. So he's the one that's guilty for the awful video. Keith, again, you're a friend of the show. We've had you on, mate. But sorry, it's not the best video in the world.
I've never had the heart to ask Keith about that, but that day may come.
I'm sure it's not on his CV, Dan. I bet you any money it's not on his CV.
Nathan Huggins is asking for a remix.
Oh, stop it, Nathan.
You will get Lee, do a remix.
The problem being mix of Doctor in Distress. I mean, I remember, Simon, hearing about this. I think I read about it in the paper. And being a Doctor Who fan, being somebody who was, I was only 10 years old, being caught up in the whole sort of charity single idea, I actually thought this was a lovely thing in theory.
It was a good idea.
Yeah. And I really wanted to track this record down. I never heard it on the radio. I don't know why that would be. But eventually I did track it down. And the disappointment as I played it must have been... I remember putting it on the turntable for the first time, and 2.5-3 minutes later, just needing, kind of like how the look on Jack's face a few moments ago. It really looked like that.
I can remember. I think the first time I heard it actually was at a convention, at a DWAS convention, and they played the video. I remember them playing the video, and we were, there must just been 700 people just sitting there with their jaws and just silence. People just didn't know what to say. Yes, in fact, Rob Alexander, Radio 1 did refuse to play it. The whole of the BBC refused to play it. I'm not kidding you, they did. And they said it was because of the poor quality of it, because nobody could hear what anybody was singing.
It probably would have been funnier if they'd have got some of the monsters to sing on it, like the Zygons maybe, or the Sea Devils. Yeah, that could have been pretty good.
I think putting the phrase "Who cares" on the cover was kind of a problematic choice.
I know. They just didn't get it, did they? They didn't see what they were doing there. That was they didn't realise the irony of what they were calling themselves.
Nearly 40 years on, Doctor in Distress is one of the gifts that keeps on giving, though, I think, Simon.
It certainly is. So, yeah, happy 39th birthday to Doctor in Distress, and say tune back in again next year. But we're actually sticking in 1985 for a little while for our next story, because, believe it or not, there were 22 new episodes screened this week in years gone by. And we could be talking about any of those. We could be talking about The Web of Fear or The Sea Devils. Genesis of the Daleks was screened. We could be talking about that. Seeds of Doom, Towers of Wenchine, Earthshock, The Caves of Androzani. We could be talking about any of these stories because they were all screened. All screened this week. All screened this week in years gone by. We could talk about any Caves of Androzani, Earthshock, but we're not going to talk about any of them. Because what we are going to talk about is Timelash. Because Timelash was indeed screening this week, way back in 1985, in the exact same week that they were recording Doctor in Distress, and then, as I say, releasing it the following week. So we're just sticking with the 1985, this whole turbulent period of the show. Because it was out of things like Timelash that Doctor in Distress came, because the show was in major crisis. I can't imagine why. When you look at Timelash, I cannot imagine why anybody would think it was in crisis, but apparently it was. So we needed that wonderful, wonderful record to salvage it. So yeah, Timelash episode 1 screened today.
Why
Back
wasn't
in
Paul
1985.
Darrow involved in Doctor in Distress?
Good question.
Paul Darrow managed to dodge that particular bullet, Sarah. And they couldn't get. They should have done, but they shouldn't. They should have done definitely, but they didn't get it.
Do you think they asked him? I think
They could have done, because of course they asked Faith Brown, and she was stupid enough to agree, and she just appeared in Doctor Who a few weeks before. So yeah,
Patrick Troughton would have been great in Doctor in Distress.
Yeah.
He was just on the story before this.
On the two dogs?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, he was. Indeed. But they didn't.
Looking back, Simon, this story isn't very fondly remembered, and it doesn't. And I think the second episode is better than the first.
Oh, really?
Not saying much, but I think that when you look back at this particular time, and obviously Doctor in Distress is sort of one element of a situation, one part of a sort of a perfect storm. It all came along at precisely the wrong time. In some respects, had Doctor Who not been in the papers in the preceding weeks, then perhaps broadcasting a story that's as mediocre as Timelash, it probably would have, in the average season, would have just passed like a summer cloud.
Whoa! What do you mean mediocre? Is the only me who likes Timelash?
You like Timelash? You don't like Timelash, Sarah?
I do.
Sarah, I like it too. That's the strange thing. I like it too, but I still think it's mediocre. I think there are stories like this in probably more seasons than not. But because all eyes were on Doctor Who for the wrong reasons around this time, this was seen as this was sort of, a nail was sort of pushed into this, and it was pinned up as a perfect example of this is why they're taking this show on.
Yeah, 100%, Dan. That's exactly what happened. Incredibly, because the announcement of the cancellation was announced literally during the Two Doctors transmission. Timelash, which, as Gary says, was the next story to follow the Two Doctors, got the highest number of viewers of the entire season, incredibly. So more people saw Timelash than any other story in the season, apart from, I think it might have been episode 1 of Attack of the Cybermen that opened the season, got a good figure as well.
Why do you think that was, Simon? Was
because
really crap on ITV, or was it because
I think people's curiosity was piqued because the show had just been in the papers massively. I mean, we've got to remember, this was front page news that Doctor Who was cancelled. Front page news. Every newspaper was talking about it. The Star were running Save Doctor Who campaigns. It was huge news. And so I think people had kind of forgotten about Doctor Who, that it was even on, and yet they just tuned in out of curiosity because they'd forgotten about it until it was all over the news. And of course, as you say, Dan, they were confronted with this, and it made everybody say, oh yeah, they were right, weren't they? They made the right decision by cancelling it.
I've got a question here. From Nathan Huggins, Gary, who asks, is it any better on Blu-ray in HD?
It's clearer.
It's worse in that respect. They've updated the special effects on it, so you don't see the tinsel that you can see there.
That's all the nails in the coffins. Look.
It is, you're quite right. You're quite right. I mean, they genuinely do. That is tinsel. For anybody that hasn't seen Timelash yet, that genuinely is just Christmas tree tinsel stuck to the walls. Those were the special effects. I'm not kidding. Anybody that hasn't seen Timelash, believe me, those are the special effects. It was a little bit of background about it. It was written by Glenn McCoy, who, this might explain things, I don't know. He was an ambulance driver, I think, at the time, or it might have been a hospital porter. I can't remember, but he definitely wasn't a writer. He'd done a couple of bits and pieces, but this was his first major work. And he submitted it as a Dalek script and was told, no, you can't have the Daleks in it, so go away. And he rewrote it with the bandrolls and the Borad in. And so the rest is history. And yeah, there's Dean Hollingsworth as a really, really awful mid-80s android doing a proper robot dance and a very annoying robot voice as well. And in the original script, it was actually the first Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan, who were supposed to be the TARDIS team that had previously visited Carvel, rather than the third Doctor and Joe Grant, which is why at one point Paul Darrow's character, Malin Tecker, says, only the one companion this time, Doctor, because it was supposed to be, I don't know why they changed, it was supposed to be Ian, Barbara, and Susan. Paul Darrow, that we just mentioned, who plays Malin Tecker, deliberately hammed it up in retaliation to Colin Baker, allegedly, because Colin Baker had appeared as Baben, the murderer,
Butcher.
the assassin.
Butcher, yeah.
Correct, Butcher Baben.
Butcher.
Absolutely, and he'd appeared in Blake 7 as that, and I had hammed it up to the nth degree, and so Paul Darrow decided to go just one little bit better, and wanted to play it as Rich. He decided he was going to play it as Richard III, and he even asked for a hump. He wanted a hump. Yeah, with which to play it, and that was the one thing he was denied. Eric Sayward, brilliantly, the script editor at the time, described Paul Darrow's Malin Tecker as a Roman emperor who's been sniffing glue all day. And that's about right, really. That's right. Eric, you're quite well, Nathan Huggins. It's interesting you say Eric was the script editor and there's no excuse. Yeah, Eric at the time was writing the next story, Revelation of the Daleks, which is why he did so little work on Timelash. And so that's really why it's blamed as being as poor as it is, because Glenn McCoy, who was very much a newbie writer, just didn't get the support from Eric Sayward that he should have done. This is a good one. Interestingly, we nearly had Stephen Burkoff playing Malin Tecker instead of Paul Darrow. Yeah, incredibly. They asked him, he turned it down, or was unavailable. Stephen Burkoff would have been interesting as Tecker. And it's a shame because Paul Darrow is a cracking actor, but he just hams it up. He just hams it up. Anybody that if you've watched the commentary on the Blu-ray for this, it's just a joy to listen to, because Colin Baker sort of says, to Paul Darrow, he's quite direct. He says, why did you feel the need to play it like you played it? And Paul Darrow sort of says, well, I just thought it would be funny. And Colin Baker says, yes, but why? And Paul Darrow replies and says, well, because I thought I'd do it as Richard III. And Colin Baker says, yes, but why? And he just says, why did you do it? Why did you think it was a good idea? Colin Baker's so dry because John Nathan Turner apparently freaked out at Paul Darrow and said, you've got to tone this down. And he refused. He just went for it. He just went for it. Nicola Bryant claims that it's her worst acting that she's ever done. Certainly,
she wasn't given much in the way of material, though, was she? Bless her.
No, she spends the vast majority of it tied up. Simple as that. The writer clearly doesn't know what to do with her, so just ties her up in various cells and positions.
Easy, boys. There's people out there in the live chat saying, is this out on Blu-ray?
I was going to say, how is that a negative?
Yeah,
this is in the season 22 box set. Yeah, you can get that. I think my favourite comment comes so far from YW, who asks, "What are they even doing in that scene?" So now it'd be ridiculous to try and explain exactly what's going on here. It's more entertaining than you think.
No, it's not, Dan.
I can tell you what it looks like. It looks like they're abseiling down Giant's Causeway, but that's not actually what.
Yeah, it makes sense when you watch the story, sort of.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense what they're doing, but it doesn't make it any better what they're doing.
Jack, have you ever seen Timelash?
Unfortunately, yeah. It was a long time ago.
Come on then, Jack. What do you make of it as a 21st century kid? What do you think?
You know what? I think this was the first Sixth Doctor story I'd ever seen.
I
know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this was back in, I think it might have been like 2010, 2009, 2010. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean. I haven't watched it since because I just remember, I don't think I watched the entire thing either.
Best not to.
Yeah. And it did put me off watching that era for a while. But then,
can't imagine why.
Yeah. I wonder why. But I guess it goes to show that, there's a Doctor Who episode out there for everyone, if that's what you enjoy.
Well, it's interesting, Jack. I think that's true. I think every single Doctor Who story out there has its champions that love it. Sadly, Timelash has very, very, very few champions. In the 2009 Doctor Who magazine poll, where they polled all 200 stories up until that point, anybody want to guess where Timelash came out of 200?
201.
It should have done. I'll put you out your misery. It did actually come 199, so it was only one off the bottom spot. It was only beaten to the bottom spot by the Twin Dilemma, which probably tells you all you need to know. I mean, that was a race for the bottom between those two stories. And I know that, again, in the commentary, Colin Baker sort of says, as they're watching, he says, I don't think it's as bad as people think. I'm sorry, Colin. It is. It really, really is as bad as people think. It's
never mind,
terrible.
Colin.
But I'm glad you like it, Sarah. I'm really sorry. I hope I haven't put you off it.
No. I know its flaws. I do. But I love Paul Dorrow in it. And I love the H.G. Wells
So do I.
which Darren pointed out. I wish that could have been fleshed out. I think somewhere there is a decent story in there. It just needed somebody else, to.
I think there are decent stories underneath all of Doctor Who's biggest failures. There are, particularly classic Doctor Who. There are decent stories there, sort of fighting under the duvet to try and sort of get up for air, so to speak.
Plus, we also have to mention that this story featured the classic debut of the TARDIS seatbelts.
Yes, indeed, Gary. Those TARDIS seatbelts. I mean, again, for anybody that hasn't seen this yet, you're in for a treat once you get to the TARDIS seatbelts.
Yeah, here we are complaining about the modern TARDIS, the new TARDIS being very, very sparse. I think maybe they'd bring back the seatbelts. Maybe one of those little pine things you hang from the rearview mirror in the car. With a little
yeah.
I think actually, Gary, I think it's that scene in particular that Nicola Bryant highlights as her worst acting of her entire life. I can't imagine why. It's just a classic scene. It is truly.
Keep on coming. Yeah, with the Doctor Who Diary on Type 40 Live, don't they, Simon? What we got spoiled next?
So very finally today, we're wishing a very, 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 very happy birthday to one Matt Richard Lucas, who was 50 on Tuesday. He's just gone 50. Nice. So he's 50 in 2 days. Happy birthday, Matt Lucas. As I say, middle name Richard. Of course, he plays Nardole. Started in The Husbands of River Song, left in Twice Upon a Time. So he did 15 episodes. 15 episodes, that's a lot of episodes, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of forget how many episodes he was in.
More than Martha.
Yeah, totally.
More than Ruby.
Yes.
Sorry.
I don't know. He's Nardole is one of those Marmite characters. Never worked for me personally. Did it? Who did it work for?
Yeah, he grew on me.
Yeah.
He did grow on me, and I think he worked very well up as a foil for Peter Capaldi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the triple act there of the three of them together really grew on me. I grew to like them all together.
Yeah,
I think it bothered me. It was just becoming a little bit too sort of comedic at that point. I think I was just.
It was broader than the series had been probably since it had come back at that time, wasn't it, Simon? Simply because, I think it's not Matt Lucas's responsibility really. He is a comedian. He isn't really an actor, and so they employed Matt Lucas. And so Matt Lucas took the job and did what what you would expect Matt Lucas to do.
The part was exactly how you'd expect Matt Lucas to play. You book Matt Lucas, and you're going to get that. So you're going to get that part. And so fair enough. He's very good at what he does. It just didn't like the character particularly.
When he was in that first special, the River Song one, Simon, I mean, I actually despised the character in that one. And when they announced that he was coming back as a companion, I couldn't believe my ears.
He's quite annoying in that one, I think, personally.
Yeah, but I came round. Similarly to Gary, I came round pretty quick.
I think his best episode was it was really good in Doctor Mysterio. That was a mediocre episode, but he has some nice speeches towards the end when he's talking about River and the Doctor and how he's looking after him. But then he's really good in Empress of Mars, when he's left on his own and he has to go and enlist Mrs. Help to rescue the Doctor and Bill, and that's where he starts to shine.
Yeah, the Cyberman two-parter was great for him.
Yeah.
Phenomenal that was.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of background for dear old Matt Lucas. He's a British-German descent, actually. His grandmother fled Germany in 1938, and he actually became a German citizen in 2021. Bless him. He started to lose his hair at the age of 6 from alopecia. Just 6 years old when bless him, he started to lose it, and obviously he's got no facial hair either, no eyebrows. Went to the same school as Sacha Baron Cohen, believe it or not, and is quite rightly, he's a massive fan of the original Wurzel Gummidge. He's obviously a Doctor Who fan as well. That's kind of a given, but yeah, he's a massive fan of the original Wurzel Gummidge, and his favourite band, if you are remotely interested, is Queen.
Brilliant!
I can't say I'm surprised.
So he's got good taste. That's the second time tonight we've mentioned Queen. We don't just throw this show together,
It would have been Queen or Roxy Music, I would have said for Matt.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'm still waiting for this Brian May cameo in Doctor Who. We've got Anita.
We kind of need it now. As I say, we've mentioned Queen twice tonight. So
get him in as the White Guardian. Get him as the White Guardian. That's what I say.
I want to know what Queen's excuse was for not showing up for Doctor in Distress.
Yeah.
Who's?
Queen.
Oh, Queen's.
Queen. 1986. They were having a very successful.
Yeah, I think they were quite big. I think they were quite big at that point.
Imagine going from Live Aid to Doctor in Distress.
Really bring us back down to earth.
Yeah.
Matt Lucas, incredibly, has got 112 credits on Internet Movie Database. 112 acting credits. Absolutely extraordinary. Includes Wonka, Paddington, Shaun of the Dead, Casanova. Of course, he played opposite David Tennant in Casanova.
That. I mean, he plays basically the same bloke, but he's good in it. He does what Matt Lucas always does.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, he now presents what is it? A Great British Bake Off, isn't it?
I think he's off that now as
well.
On that now. He's either just finished or he's about to finish, and they're replacing him with guess who?
Give him.
It's not Ryland. It's the other one. Alison Hammond.
Oh, deep joy. Oh, deep joy. And yes, of course, Little Britain, top left. That was his massive claim to it. And let's not forget that proof that he's a Doctor Who fan. He plays a character called Michael Craze at one point in Little Britain. Michael Craze, of course, played Ben in the Patrick Troughton years. So yeah, he played a character called Michael Craze. My personal favourite part that Matt Lucas plays, apart from the fact I absolutely adore "Come Fly with Me," you can no longer get it. I don't think. Just it's fallen foul of the woke police, I'm afraid, and it's way off radar now.
I've got it. I've got "Come Fly with Me" on TV.
It's just brilliant. "Come Fly with Me" is a work of genius. But my favourite role, actually, is he's in the Pet Shop Boys promo video, "I'm with Stupid." And if you haven't seen it, just Google. I'm sure it must be on Google. It's absolutely brilliant. Both David Walliams and Matt Lucas are in there. And they basically play this ghastly, awful, horrific Mickey take of the Pet Shop Boys themselves. So Matt Lucas plays Chris Lowe at the keyboard, and it's just the most ghastly. It's deliberately meant to be excruciatingly awful. They're very similar characters to the two from Little Britain that you can see top left there, and they just play these awful versions, the nightmarish versions of the Pet Shop Boys. Absolute genius. Go and look that one up. That's my recommendation of the day. It's a cracking video.
I don't think I've heard that or seen it, so I'm definitely
worth checking out.
Yeah, he can sing as well, can't he? Because he was in Les Mis at one point.
Oh, he was. I'd forgotten, Sarah. Yeah, I forgot about that. He's a talented guy. He's an all-rounder.
He's almost certainly done the Rocky Horror show as well, Jack. I can imagine being the narrator or something like that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of the examples listed there. I mean, he was only in Shaun of the Dead for like a couple minutes from what I recall, but
yes,
like that man can do anything.
He can do anything.
I remember always laughing myself to pieces, with Little Britain, "Come Fly with Me" and all that. He can do anything.
He can, and "Come Fly with Me," and Little Britain both show the versatility of him as a performer. And for those, I can see a couple of comments in the chat saying, "What is 'Come Fly with Me?" As I don't, you'd get it on DVD if you go on eBay. Unfortunately, as I say, I think it's pretty much banned now on DVD for general retail sale because it's just viewed as completely
something as innocent as that.
And absolutely, but it is utter genius. The versatility of both him and David Walliams in "Come Fly with Me" is just incredible because they play all of the characters. There are so many different characters in there, and they're performed. Every single one of them is performed by just those two people. It's utter genius, and everybody should watch it.
I've always liked Matt Lucas, Simon. I just think he seems like a decent guy, to tell you the truth. I've got no way of knowing that. I've never met him. But every time you see him interviewed, he just seems very, very normal. There doesn't seem to be any adherence to any ideologies. He's never got any drum that he's banging. He looks like he's having a really good time for the most part. I think it's kind of like Tom Baker. I think he's a larger than life person. He's just really, really interesting. And any fact that you find out about him when he speaks on any topic, he's the kind of person that when he speaks, everybody listens. I wonder what his take is going to be on that. And whilst I do think that Nardole was a thinly sketched character, and probably I think he was probably too good for it. I think that it's better to put somebody with his range, with his versatility, who is game, like Jack says, he's sort of game for anything. It's better to put somebody like that in a role like that than somebody who would perhaps look down their nose on it. You know what I'm saying?
He's a very particular performer. That's the truth of it. He's unique. There is literally nobody out there like Matt Lucas. And I just think he's the kind of person that he looks the sort of person that you could just sit down and have a nice cup of tea with and have a good old chin wag. He doesn't come across as very sort of starry, considering, as I say, he's got 112 credits to his name, and that's probably not all of them by any means. he never comes across as the kind of person who wants to court celebritydom or be seen on the red carpet, if you know what I mean. He just seems a pretty down to earth, nice sort of bloke, as I say, that would have to sit and have a cup of tea and a slice of cake with you.
Yeah. Liam Neeson's chin here says, I keep the complete runs of Little Britain and Come Fly With Me on my Plex server. It's definitely, it's unearthed some memories, I think, from people, because they don't show Little Britain anymore either. I think that's been sort of...
Has Matt Lucas ever been on the wheel?
Probably. Everybody's been on the wheel, Gary.
According to Rob Alexander, there's a character called Matthew Waterhouse in Little Britain.
No way could be. No,
it probably is, yeah, because
they're all Doctor Who fans. Everybody on that show is a Doctor Who fan. Was it? It was Tom Baker that did the announcements on that, wasn't it?
Yeah, because I know Tom Baker's voice from Little Britain before.
There you go. Yeah. There you go.
Because it predated, Doctor Who.
You getting into Doctor Who? Absolutely, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. We wish Matt Lucas a very, very happy 50th birthday. We salute you. And that's about you lot. So as I say, we could have talked about the K-Zone. I still can't believe, Dan, we didn't talk about the K-Zone design. Your Earthshock of the Talents of Wen Chiang. But there we go.
Next week. Future shows, all of them.
All those stories are definitely shows of their own. And thank you everybody too for all the enthusiasm for the Robots of Death show that we did last week. So there's more coming in that vein, and more from the Doctor Who diary as well. Simon, thank you again so much for putting that together.
Very welcome.
I'm looking back and thinking,
as always.
Doctor in Distress.
I hope we brought a new appreciation for Doctor in Distress.
You will be next time, won't you, everybody? You will be. Thanks again, Simon. Fantastic stuff. And if you enjoy the Doctor Who diary as much as we do, you know how to show your appreciation. Yes, one more thing. Yes, of course. As ever, we're rounding things off with a last look at the view screen. I know, terrible, wasn't it? I think I overdid it then. A regular eye into you.
Nobody noticed.
No, I think I'll just carry on. A regular eye into the temporal schism in search of the prettiest pictures from out there in the Whoniverse. We're talking fan arts, fan crafts, fan cosplay, digital art and traditional art. It's all fair game to get up on the view screen for us to pick over and throw wide open to the community here across YouTube, Rumble and Facebook, eager to get some eye candy. I think that's the general gist of it. Jack, are you artistic?
No, I can't draw to save my life.
You're in good company.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be stimulated and be made jealous by some of the sites you've got. Oh, heck, says Simon Anthony.
What does that even mean? Why, Simon? Why? Explain.
It could be anything.
They're back next week after this.
Could be anything. Could be anything.
First of all, we are going with Will Is Your Thrill. Will Hadcroft, is that you? Is this coming from the wife? No, it is. This is from Instagram. It's a piece of fabulous fan art done in a kind of anime style, and we see the 15th Doctor is making his escape, bringing Ace with him too, and the 15th Doctor says, I thought you fixed the fuse length. And Ace says, well, nobody's perfect, Professor. And we've got a big explosion ripping through the backdrop of this fabulous piece of fan art there, Gary. What'd you make of this? Is this to your taste?
I love any art like this. Sure. Yes.
But you love comic books too, don't you? I mean, what I like about this is the colours. I like all the oranges. I like the vibrancy of it. Not the best likeness in the world. Now, Ace does look a bit like Meatloaf, but
yeah, that threw me.
I'd do anything for art, but I won't do that. No, but I do like the 15th Doctor fan art that's coming up, and I like that it's in all these different styles and that it's very, very stylized. And although we barely know the 15th Doctor, I do like the fact, Jack, that people are latching onto him and imagining future stories for him and his associates already.
Yeah, and I guess it shows that there's, some anticipation for what's coming. And, I guess people are, getting ready for when this eventually airs, because we're getting closer. But I guess, fans are obviously a little bit impatient or just sick of waiting, and they're just making their own stuff. But it's incredible. Like, I really love this. I think it's really nice.
Also, I just realized that Millie Gibson can't even catch a break on fan art.
There is plenty. No, there is plenty.
I'm sure. Yeah,
No, I know. I'm just.
You're a wicked man, Gary Akers. A wicked man.
I love this silhouette as well. The coat. This is his best costume. I love the coat that he wears. If he just wore that, all the time, or for the majority of the episodes, I think we'd be on to a winner.
Yeah,
he needs to loosen up a little bit. I think the Doctor. I think some doctors work quite well with their sort of tightly buttoned in and fastened into things. I think Capaldi's Doctor, it made sort of sense for him to be like that. Although I did like when they sort of pulled him about a little bit. But generally speaking, I think the Doctor should look like he kind of got dressed in a rush. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I put my fan art for you to show? Asks Nathan Huggins. You can get hold of us through many different social media platforms. We'll give you the details to that in a moment, Nathan. But we'll be happy to look at your fan art too. Yes. Next up, there's this one. I really like this. I suspect Simon's going to like it too. It's from Colin Howard, friend of the show, Colin Howard, and a piece of his dedicated to the 1982 classic, the Fifth Doctor's debut story, Castrovalva, and a difficult story. Yeah. It's a difficult story to capture in art form, and a lot of people go for the. They go where you think they're going to go. They go for homage to the MC Escher Prince, don't they? But Colin's not chosen to do that, and I think that's why I like this so much.
Yes, I like it. I love the composition of that. I love the archways, the way those sort of centralise everything, and you've got the Doctor balancing beautifully with the portrait there. And I will say no more than that, because anybody that hasn't seen Castrovalva would hate anything to be spoiled. And those likenesses of Nyssa and Tegan at the bottom, and of Peter Davison, absolutely breathtaking likenesses.
It's tough to paint and draw, isn't it?
Artists have always said that Peter Davison is a difficult likeness to get, and Colin has absolutely nailed it there. Is this a new piece of art, do you know, Dan? Or
No,
is
it's a commission. It's a commission from a few years ago, which I understand that he's been given permission to include in a calendar or as a print.
That'd be gorgeous.
I know that Colin's got a new website that's either recently been launched or is on the way. So if you go and search for Colin Howard across social media, he's very active over on X, and he's got his Facebook page too. So Colin Howard will be more than happy to tell you some of the history behind every single piece.
And of course, it's all physical art that he does. I'm not sure. I think that's acrylics by the looks of that he's using there. But it's all. I think he dabbles in digital art these days a little bit. But basically, he's an artist that creates real pieces as opposed to digital pieces. And he's going to be, as I understand it, I think he's going to be at Capital, the DWAS convention, in a month's time. So it'd be a good opportunity to catch Callan. He's an absolute legend. He's just an absolute gent.
The picture of the vortex through the broken wall there is
it's all gorgeous. Again, Castrovalva is it is a difficult story. It's like Warrior's Gate, isn't it?
Yes.
This could have been the Target cover. That could have been the Target cover.
Yeah, it could, Gary. It looks very much like a Target cover, that does. And when you think of the Target cover that we got on the original release of Castrovalva, which was just one of the worst book covers of all time. Seriously, it's dreadful. That would have been magnificent.
It's the Doctor and a sort of starry sky backdrop.
Just a photo, and a really badly cut out photo of the Doctor.
No, disappointing.
Terrible. Whereas that would have been magnificent. Have you seen Castrovalva yet, Jack?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I really loved it. Yeah,
Good. Really good. It is good. I like it.
Yeah.
I have very happy memories of that, and that's just so 1980s. That piece of artwork by Colin, it is just so, in a good way, it's just so 1980s. That
People love it here in the live chat too. People on YouTube are saying it's just beautiful. Wow, I love it. Wish I was that talented as YW. There's always a lot of love for Colin's work, as I say, whether it's the old favourites or the new stuff that we've never seen before. Very prolific artist, and obviously a massive, massive Doctor Who fan. An art book with all painted book covers would be great. Colin has got an art book out. Go and follow him on social media. You can find all the details of how to get Colin's art book. It's published, isn't it, by Candy Jar Books, Simon?
Candy Jar Books. It's called Time Slides. So you'll find that. I'm not sure whether it's available from Amazon. It's certainly available from Candy Jar Books, and you better to go and buy it from there anyway, because then more of the money goes to Candy Jar rather than going into pockets of other people. So, but yeah, it's out there, and it's a cracking book. It's got so many of his covers in. Go and grab that.
So much plugging for Candy Jar. We could also plug for ourselves. Colin came on the show. Has he been on a couple of times? I know I've spoken to him a couple of times, but he came on to talk about his book in great length. So you can find the video version of that up here at the Type 40 channel. If you go through the playlists, look for the podcasts, and you'll see our chat with Colin there, and he takes us through his career. It really is a fascinating conversation, particularly if you're collecting the VHS tapes back then, because obviously he goes through all of that, all of his frustrations too. Like a lot of artists, Colin is quite self-deprecating, isn't he, Simon? But he's
very humble. He's just, there's no ego in Colin whatsoever. He's just a very, very humble artist. He enjoys what he does, but he would never sort of trumpet about it at all. He's just a gent, absolute gent.
More painted artwork now from the new series, though, and this is an artist I've only recently discovered. Somebody Gary, called Nipuni. I don't know where they're from, but I love it. And I love the style of this piece, which is all geared around the 10th Doctor and Gallifrey itself. Here we can see.
I love that. Oh, the colours.
We have the capital in the background there, Sarah, enclosed in its dome, but we've got the red mountains and the sort of the burnt orange clouds there disappearing into the background, into the landscape. But in the foreground, we have these golden leaves sort of blowing in the breeze as the Doctor's got his eyes closed and he's just sort of taking it in. He's going back to nature, I think, despite being in his Time Lord robes. But I love this.
It's good. It's so evocative of that series anyway. Whenever I hear this is Gallifrey, I just picture that, these colour, this orange, and the Doctor and the Master talking about the red grass, and think and it's a bit fairy tale-ish as well, isn't it? It could almost be like a crystal ball, and a castle.
It is absolutely stunning piece of artwork. I think that
very
really, really good. It's just so imaginative. It's like no Doctor Who arts that I've ever seen before, purely because the composition is just so original, so unusual. They've come up with something completely different there that is not copied from any photographs. And that's what's so beautiful about it. I love the collar. I just love the way they've got that sort of collar, burnished gold, and just so beautifully smooth. The lines are just majestic on the collar. And
this could absolutely be a book cover for like 10th Doctor stories.
Yeah, it should be. I'd buy that book.
Autumnal, says Peter Harrington. A fantasy elf style, says John Smith. And he's quite right, isn't he, Sarah? It has that kind of, the Doctor still looks like the Doctor. He still looks masculine. You can still see his cheekbones, Jack. And you can tell he's a man. It's not a boy. But there is something of the higher fantasy about this, which Doctor Who does now and again stray into, doesn't it? So it seems appropriate.
Yeah, it does. It does. And to be honest, like looking at this, I kind of wish like we had like a scene like this in the actual show, because I did remember seeing in like one of the behind the scenes stuff for the sound of the drums that David Tennant did get into the Time Lord costume. And just looking at this picture here, just like I could just imagine maybe the Doctor in between adventures just closing his eyes, and that incarnation as well used to miss Gallifrey because of obviously it being destroyed. Just imagine like shutting his eyes and he's just thinking of home.
Yeah,
exactly why
I think
Whovians goes in the live chat here says the Doctor looks like he's thinking about all his past adventures, Simon.
yeah, he's in pensive mood, isn't he? I think that the photos exist, don't they? I seem to remember seeing the photos of David Tennant in the Time Lord robes. Can't quite remember why he put them on, why Tennant put them on, but there are photos. I love the way the cloak is just billowing. It is very sort of Lord of the Rings, isn't it?
Yes.
This is very much to my taste, and I've been following Nipuni since I discovered them over on Twitter, and some of the artwork is exquisite. This was
Did you say this is? Did you say this is real and not digital, Dan?
Yeah, it's painted. It's not digital at all.
It's painted. Wow.
Absolutely magnificent. I want that on my wall.
Talking about a true artiste, we have one in the live chat. Ian David Diaz, the mega geek. Obviously, he's made it. He's I'm not sure where he is. He's out on manoeuvre somewhere on top secret duties. Type 40.
Hello, Ian.
Hello.
Good to have you there, mate. Hope you're well. Hope to see you soon. We have who else here? Oh, and people saying hello to Ian. There we are. He's my favourite new Who Doctor. I think he's talking about Ian. Yeah,
I think David Tennant is most people's new Who favourite Doctor, probably.
You could be right. You could be right. And when you see, he's the inspiration behind artwork like that. It hammers it home why that incarnation of the character has endured in the way that it has. Speaking about enduring icons, the little blue fella. We're not talking about the android from Timelash this time. Another little blue fella. This one with spiky hair. No, it's not Shakin Stevens again, everybody. I'm talking about Sonic the Hedgehog. And this piece of artwork that's been sent in by the Thin King. This is one of his AI interpretations. He was inspired by the work of Darren, the Darren Zone in the live chat, who sent us a lot of serial designs a few weeks ago. So the Thin King has picked up the gauntlet and offered his own twist on the Sonic the Hedgehog screwdriver, official serial here. This is the mashup you never thought you'd get, Sarah.
I would buy that in a heartbeat. That's my childhood right there. Childhood and adulthood combined.
How about you, Gary? Would you fancy that in the morning? Would you chow down?
Absolutely. I mean, you can get a good amount of cereal in a box that size. That's,
this is a king size box, that isn't it?
It's a big one, embezzled and
the best thing about it, it's got the McGann logo up there.
Even better.
Yeah, good, well spotted. Yeah.
In the style of Sonic the Hedgehog, and there's lots of sort of spacecraft and things around the outside. I'm trying to work out what's what. But Sonic comes out looking like Sonic, Jack, which is amazing for AI, isn't it? I think he's got all the fingers he's supposed to have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's got all of his fingers, and his shoes look Sonic-y as well. Yeah,
Sonic with a Sonic. Yeah.
I mean, genuinely, I'm really fond of Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it's a delightful character, and I think mashups like this are quite fun. And obviously, people in the live chat agree. We've got nice from Peter Harrington. John Smith would buy that for $1. Is $1? Is that around the price of a box of cereal this size, Gary? That would seem very cheap to me.
You know what, Dan? Can I just say that the Thin King? I applaud him because the use of the sun in the background, and then you look at the shadows. Look at the shadows of the orange juice pitcher and the cereal bowl. He's got all the shadows perfectly right for the sun coming in the window at that angle. I mean, there's been a lot of thought going into this picture.
Yeah, I think it's nice and fun, and it does look quite tasty as well. In fact, I fancy a glass of that freshly squeezed orange juice there. I think that would be.
I'm just getting the munchies now looking at the cereal.
Right.
A bowl of cereal.
There we are. Snap, crackle, and kapow, says Peter Harrington. And YW says that looks cool. Yeah,
and I love Lord Thoth's comment about more cereal on the inside. That's very clever.
Wonderful stuff. A great one to finish off with. And if you're a fan artist or you know a fan artist, like Nathan there in the live chat on YouTube, you want us to get your art up on the view screen for everybody to have a good goosey gander at, then you can do that. You can get it to us. You can contact us through the comment section here. Get commenting. Send us a link to your website, your Instagram account, your DeviantArt page, whatever you've got. Just send us in its direction. And we'll get on it, and we'll get your artwork up on screen. You can also contact us through our social media, Instagram and X at Type40 Doctor Who. If you don't want to wait until the next live stream, you can always throw it up on the wall there on Facebook in the Type40 Facebook group. Several things have been thrown up there over the years. It has to be said. But we do love the fan art. So it's a great community there of companions and doctors from throughout the decades. People who love the classic show, the new show, and people who are anticipating all new Doctor Who there too. So please come and join us in the Type40 Facebook group. Ooh, yes, it's too late to nibble on a tart.
No, it's never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late to nibble on a tart.
Not late in life. Not late. I'm talking about late in the day. Gary, it's late.
Oh, God.
Move on.
Charlotte, where are you?
I was going to say, but I'm.
Never had the guts to say that when she's around. She just give me she just give me one of those looks when she give me
She'd do a finger wag.
Yeah.
Do that
Give
definitely.
you a hard stare.
So we made it, everybody. We made it through another Type40 live in a very quiet news week too. I'm sure that's not going to carry on for too much longer, but there's always lots to talk about, I believe, Jack, if you know where to look. So what's coming up in the Nerd Den? Because you were offline for a little while, weren't you? But you're now back to full force. So if people want to find your videos and find out what's on your mind, where can they get that? Where can they get your content?
Well, just go on YouTube, type in Nerd Den, and then you'll see some Doctor Who YouTuber, one of them guys, covering all bits of news when they come, doing little bits of trivia as well recently. You know, for example, I did a video talking about the lost ending for Series 1, which would have certainly made the parting of the ways a little bit different. So, yeah, if you want to check that out, hit up Nerd Den.
Irresistible. I like it. I like the sound of that. My tart likes a nibble, confesses John Smith. Well, depending on which time zone you're in, you better not keep a lady waiting for too much longer, mate.
Oh boy!
Thank you for your company, and we got several along the same lines. But what can I expect after hitting?
It's your fault, Dan. It's
your fault.
We've got them hyped up, haven't we, Gary? Yeah, I blame Gary.
Gary, no, this is on you. You started the double entendres, not me.
Yeah, I did. We're going to bring you back on again soon, Gary, for more of our brand of nonsense, and maybe now and again some proper searching conversations, as befitting a Doctor Who fan of many, many years, like yourself, and a great collector. But tonight it's been all about the fluff, hasn't it?
It's been an immense pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And where can people see more of you? You do pop up even.
Well, I'm on Facebook. Either find me under RetroDoc or Gary Akers, and you might find me in the chat with all my chat compatriots. I'm on Galactic Gals.
He's one of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Galactic Gals podcast. We're actually going to be this Saturday. We're going to be covering more 90s loves.
Very nice.
So we'll be, and you might see some other familiar faces on there, and that's always a lot of fun. So that's it.
Yeah. I want to talk about your 90s loves. Come and talk about a couple of ex-girlfriends. That makes hair cool.
That's on another stream.
Sounds good. So that's the Galactic Gals, isn't it? With Andy and Michelle. And you're safe. I think you're safe with them, Gary. They've never lost one yet.
Oh, absolutely. Never lost. I'm not a Galactic Gal. I'm a Galactic Guy. But just want to make that clear. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. We all blame Gary, says Lord Thorpe.
Well, okay. All right.
Simon, Sarah, another fantastic edition of the show. We're still smiling, and they're still here. But I think it is time to pull the old lever and to fly off into who knows where and who knows what. Join us again next week, same time and space, for more of this brand of hot takes, cold shoulders, pet peeves, pot shots, and everything in between on the next Type40 Live. You know what? Quiet week can turn into very, very loud week very, very quickly in Doctor Who fandom, can't it, Simon? It's never too quiet for too long.
Never, ever, ever. That's what Doctor Who's all about, and it has been for 60 years, and it'll still carry on the same.
Mm-hmm.
And one last thing, if anybody's weeks just get too quiet, you know now what you can put on to play to make your week a little bit more exciting.
A little bit brighter. Doctor in Distress.
That's right.
Yeah. Crank it up, or crank up some Shakin Stevens. Yeah, and lock the doors of your TARDIS so that nobody can hear what you're listening to. Yes, we always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. Get commenting, get in touch, send us your artwork and all that. But most of all, have a brilliant weekend. We'll see you on the next one. We'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Duggan.